The Age of the Mecha, Fists That Shatter Stars. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Quick Cut. Following this series of beautiful combos by the Pluto Mecha, the cheers from the audience became louder and louder. In addition to the fact that the mechas were evenly matched, the close combat was also quite entertaining. Soon, after a series of actions, the magma mecha was thrown sideways to the ground, making a loud noise. Puff. The insertion chamber ejected from the back of the magma mecha's head and bounced to the ground, splashing a lot of sparks. It seemed that under Li Yi's series of attacks, Lin Guotao in the cockpit was directly overloaded and was ejected by the divine mecha because it was determined that he could not continue to control it. There was another cheer from the stands. The green fruit fairy also couldn't hide her exaggerated expression. She floated around the magma mecha and explained loudly, "What a wonderful combo. The attribute advantages of the Pluto Mecha plus Li Yi's fighting skills are finally perfectly presented at this moment. It seems that Li Yi's direct high-power attack this time also helped to quickly resolve the battle and save time for the last battle, and what's even more surprising is that since the start of the Pluto Mecha, it has never stopped to rest. In other words, Li Yi's activity time has reached 1 hour and 9 minutes. My fellow audience members, do you understand the value of this? This is the activity time of a D-level divine mecha, a level that some mecha masters who have undergone 2 years of training cannot achieve. However, Li Yi will need to wait for a halftime break and the end of the duel between Lin Guotao and Liang Xiaoquang before he can participate in the last game. During this period, Li Yi will have to maintain a standby time of at least 10 minutes, or even 15 minutes. Can Li Yi hold on at this last moment? Now, let's take a 5-minute halftime break and the next game will start immediately. However, the Pluto Mecha did not leave the stage. After the announcement of the Xingyu Fairy AI, it still waited there quietly. Li Yi, you can leave the stage now. Or is there something wrong with your current state? The Xingyu Fairy AI went around the side of the head of the Pluto Mecha and whispered. In the cockpit, Li Yi smiled slightly and spoke through the Pluto Mecha. Can you confirm that Lin Guotao's condition may not wake up in 10 minutes? Lin Guotao hasn't left the cabin yet. How can you be sure that she won't wake up in 10 minutes? Can you accurately control her coma degree through the divine mecha? The Xingyu Fairy AI was surprised for a moment, and her eyes widened. Unlike the mode of game commentary, she is now in lady mode, and rarely has such an out-of-control expression. Li Yi said lightly, go and confirm it quickly. The Xingyu Fairy AI stared at the Pluto Mecha for a while, then turned around and activated the computing power, connected the data interface of the plug-in cabin, and confirmed the situation of Lin Guotao in it. After a while, the green fruit fairy AI said helplessly, it seems that you are right. Lin Guotao's fainting state is very deep. Theoretically, she can be forced to wake up, but considering that forced awakening violates the principle of fairness and may also have sequelae, let's wait for 5 minutes. If Lin Guotao has not woken up by the start of the next game, she can only be judged as the loser. The audience in the stands also gradually noticed a conversation between Li Yi and the green fruit fairy AI and became excited. Is this Li Yi's way to break the deadlock? You can make the internal driver faint correspondingly through the mecha, and you can also control the fainting time. This requires a very high degree of familiarity with the characteristics of the mecha, and it can only be achieved with super control. This is one of the high-level skills of the mecha master. Many powerful families will have similar content, but isn't Li Yi from an ordinary poor family? The gold content of the first place in the history of the points race is there. He can completely understand it by himself. That's right, genius cannot be measured by common sense. In short, it's all about being awesome. 5 minutes later, the green fruit fairy AI announced loudly, the next contestant, Lin Guotao, fainted during the match with Li Yi and has not yet woken up. In view of the final rules, the match between Lin Guotao and Liang Xiaoquang is now postponed. If Lin Guotao still does not wake up within 3 minutes of the start of this match, the match between Lin Guotao and Liang Xiaoquang will be judged as a loss. Now, please welcome the Magnetic Abyss Mecha to the stage. He actually knocked his opponent into long-term fainting effect through the divine mecha. This is a skill that only senior mecha masters can use. Did he really figure it out by himself? Liang Xiaoquang let out a long breath. According to the trend of the game, this one will be a G. He did so many moves and deliberately prolonged the length of each game, just to win the last game without fighting. He knew that if he really faced Li Yi, he would be at most better than Lin Guotao, but there would be no essential difference. He didn't care about the title of champion. But the second-level authority and the A-level auxiliary module were what he valued most. He was unwilling. Maybe Li Yi is almost at his limit, so he has to resort to this desperate measure. I can try to delay time again. Yes, this is the last resort to win. That's what we should do. Shaking his head, Liang Shaoquang slowly appeared on the stage in the newly activated Magnetic Abyss Mecha. Li Yi could actually hold on for a while longer. But in order to avoid more trouble, he decided to cut the Gordian knot and win by speed. As for practical experience, he could practice it later. The game begins. The Pluto Mecha began to sprint. The Magnetic Abyss Mecha began to retreat, and moved left and right in a zigzag trajectory to avoid direct contact with the Pluto Mecha. Moreover, there was a continuous crackling sound of electricity on the ground. When the Pluto Mecha stepped on the ground, it would produce an explosion and vibration, interfering with its movement speed. Soon, the movement speed of the Pluto Mecha slowed down. After chasing the Magnetic Abyss Mecha several times, it was easily avoided by the opponent. Excellent, this move is Liang's well-known control skill, geomagnetic shock. Powerful electromagnetic energy flows on the ground. Once there is a huge force impact, it will detonate magnetism and interfere with the opponent's actions in the opposite direction. This move is also a mecha skill that Liang can only master when he reaches the stage of a formal mecha master. Liang Shaoquang is indeed a gifted and rare genius, the green fruit fairy AI explained in amazement. In the cockpit, Li Yi frowned slightly. He had seen similar methods in the rich memory fragments. But coincidentally, that memory happened not to be fully absorbed, and there was no corresponding solution to crack it. Well, there seems to be a similar solution in the fighting memory. The Pluto Mecha stood in a corner, paused slightly, and rushed again. This time the action was even more swift than before. When stepping on the electromagnetically covered ground, the thigh arched, and the electromagnetic explosion was used to explode, and the propulsion speed suddenly increased by a large margin. Liang Shaoquang's pupils suddenly shrank. They actually accurately grasped the direction of the electromagnetic rebound. In the blink of an eye, the Pluto Mecha had already stuck to the side of the Magnetic Abyss Mecha, and with a big swing punch from the backhand, it hit the Magnetic Abyss Mecha's arms that were barely blocking it like a giant cannonball. Bang! The airwave rolled wildly. The audience in the first 3 rows of the stands were blown back 7 or 8 meters. The Magnetic Abyss Mecha's extremely hard arms covered with thick armor actually had some cracks. Katz's voice was small but clear. On the other side of the stands, Lin Guotao stood up suddenly. How is this possible? Chapter 27 Winning the Championship. Lin Guotao was so shocked for a reason. The cracks were on the armor of the Divine Mecha. Even if it was only the weakest 30-meter class, with its hard armor, it could walk around the outer periphery of the sun and withstand the high temperature of nearly 10,000 degrees without any damage. To break through the 30-meter class Divine Mecha, it must have the attack power of a 50-meter class Divine Mecha. Don't look at how happy these 10 people were fighting before. But in the eyes of experts, it's just for show. Among the Mecha Masters, they are still at the beginner level. In terms of the actual combat effect, it depends on who can cause a greater driving load to the opponent's driver, causing him to be unable to fight and be ejected by the Divine Mecha. But whether it can achieve the effect of destroying the Divine Mecha depends on the senior evolvers. Only Mecha Masters with a deep enough degree of evolution can make the Divine Mecha burst out with a stronger attack power and then destroy the opponent's Divine Mecha. Although he was helped by the geomagnetic explosion of the Magnetic Abyss Mecha, judging from the result, Li Yi's fighting skills are undoubtedly better than what he showed before, at least 1.7, or even 1.8. With a long breath, Lin Guotao was somewhat glad that he had strongly recommended Li Yi to win the championship in front of the captain. In the face of this upcoming major result, his long-planned God Mecha plan seems to have hope of being realized as soon as possible. As the left and right armors of the Magnetic Abyss Mecha were cracked with visible cracks, many knowledgeable spectators also showed disbelief. Amid the crazy shouts beside them, these originally calm spectators could not help but join the cheering. Awesome, witnessing history again. Just ask who else can make obvious cracks in the God Mecha at the non-evolved stage? Li Yi is awesome. Li Yi is awesome. The deafening sound even overwhelmed the huge sound of the collision of the God Mecha. Only to see the scene. The 2 arms of the Magnetic Abyss Mech were casually swung away by the Pluto Mech, and 2 more heavy punches hit its head in a row, directly triggering the overload inside the driver. Puff. After the 2 punches, the insertion cabin spurted out from behind the magnetic abyss mech's head, fell from a high altitude, and bounced 2 or 3 times like a football. The huge body of the magnetic abyss mech also stopped at the same place. Xingyu Federation shouted exaggeratedly, "Oh my god, it's incredible. Did you see it, audience friends?" The Pluto mech once again performed a crushing performance. It only took 7 collisions to win the opponent. In the finals, 2 consecutive games ended with crushing games, and the actual time was no more than 30 seconds. Liu once again created a miracle. Moreover, Liu was the only mecha master who kept the mecha in the Yaoqi martial arts competition from the first game to the end. I am honored to witness the birth of this new legend during my service. Although Liu still has a long way to go in the future and many difficulties to overcome, I believe that he is destined to be brilliant in the future. Let us congratulate Liu for setting many unprecedented records in this martial arts competition and winning the final championship. Immediately afterwards, Xingyu Federations's gentle face showed a fangirl expression and flew to the side of the Pluto mech. Congratulations. Liu, what do you think about winning this championship? Just as Xingyu Federation asked the question, suddenly, the insertion compartment behind the Pluto mecha popped out and fell to the ground. Oh no, it seems that our champion has almost reached his limit. No wonder, after all, he has persisted for so long. Xingyu Federation was shocked at first, then relieved, turned to the audience and smiled. Just now I was thinking that Liu has persisted for so long, he is really a gifted monster. Now I see that he also gritted his teeth and persisted. Many viewers smiled knowingly. Yes, maybe it was his firm will that completed this seemingly incredible persistence. Thinking about it this way, I admire him even more. In fact, Liu can persist for at least 10 more minutes. The reason why he did this is not only to create a strong-willed personality for the audience, but also to deal with the next supervisory department. Because only by showing that he fell into coma due to overload, can he stay asleep openly. Then when the supervisory department takes the thought steel column and prepares to plant the basic rule steel seal, he can capture the memory fragments related to the thought steel column. As long as he can't capture it, he won't wake up. Wait until he's sure to deceive the review, and then wake up. This is Liu's plan. Of course, there may be some errors and risks in the actual operation process. But he won the championship, and he was still in an unprepared state, which might reduce the vigilance of the staff of the supervision department. Even if something goes wrong, there is room for error. Therefore, after choosing to eject the insertion cabin, he directly entered the dream state and observed the update status of a large number of memory fragments around the dream. No meditation, no digestion of memory fragments, to prevent being scanned for special brainwave activities. 10 minutes later, in the Intelligent Rescue Hospital. What is Liu's current state? According to the brainwave scan, he is now in a deep sleep state. Deep sleep. Interesting, it seems that the previous report that he has strong mental resistance and rejects the thought stamp is not false. Long Deng, who stood by the bed and examined Liu, who was sleeping peacefully below. Beside him, Lin Guotao smiled and said, "Team leader Long, didn't I say that Liu is gifted and is an absolute champion? It is impossible that the fanatical stamp of the cult members rejected our thought stamp." Long Deng, whose cold face twitched for a rare time. He knew that he had said before that Liu could not win the championship, and now he was completely slapped in the face. No matter what, in the next few hours, Liu will be handed over to us to implant the thought stamp. Okay, team leader Long, you can do whatever you want. I just ask that I be present, whatever you want. Long Deng, whose tone was not so harsh. The reason why Lin Guotao was present was of course to prevent Long Deng, whose people, from doing something dirty and secretly implanting some strange thought stamps. Then, let's get started. New types of memory fragments are beginning to appear. Liu's dream was a huge grassland. There was sky, white clouds, breeze, and sunshine. The memory fragments were a large group of bubbles with different colors. The colorful memory fragments represented that this memory was very exciting and exciting. Gray was tragedy. Red was passionate struggle. White was premature death, and black was evil. The surface of the bubble would reflect various first-person perspectives in the memory from time to time, constantly changing. He relied on this to determine whether this memory fragment was what he needed. Got it. It seems that the silver-white needle reflected on the surface of this bubble is the thought steel column. Li Yu scooped up the football-sized bubble in his hand. Then, he put his eyes in front of the translucent film of the bubble and looked at it carefully. After seeing it, his face changed slightly. The thought steal stamp actually hides such a secret? No wonder they have to be so strict. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Special Selection. Li Yu saw part of the starship scene that only high authority people could see in the bubble. The scene was incomplete, but in a glimpse, the image of a giant monster lying on its side was firmly engraved in his mind. The monster was really huge. It was several times larger than all the divine mechas he had seen in the Mecha Reserve. Moreover, this leopard-headed snake-bodied giant monster, as majestic as a huge mountain or river, was bound by shackles, and countless light vortices were sweeping around it, as if it was being drained of almost endless energy from its body. Perhaps, this is the secret of the endless power of the Deep Space Fleet. This may also be the reason why the pilots of the divine mechas must abide by the authority rules. Li Yu's thoughts flashed, and he had made several guesses. Of course, whether the guess is correct or not cannot be confirmed now. Perhaps this scene has another meaning. Perhaps what he saw at that moment was only the outermost appearance of the truth. In any case, taking the opportunity to peek into a little secret in the starship is also a big gain. It's a pity that this bubble has not been successfully implanted with a thought steal. Let's change it. Li Yu threw the bubble into the third pit on the left side of his feet. All the memory fragments that he has absorbed part of or is not considering absorbing for the time being will be classified by him. If he finds some important but not urgent memory fragments, he will also classify them separately. In this way, when there is not enough time to search for new fragments, he can go to the classified pits to choose the memory fragments that need to be digested. After 3 full hours, Long Deng looked at his subordinates holding the thought steal pillar with sweat on their foreheads and frowned. 3 hours have passed, why is it not ready yet? The subordinate wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, Boss, it feels like it should be soon. Feeling soon? You told me so half an hour ago. It's really soon this time. Wait, hey, it's okay, boss, it's done. The thought steal pillar has passed the test. As he spoke, several people could clearly see that the pointed cone-shaped thought steal pillar that the man placed flat on his palm had a layer of yellow light on the surface, and then disappeared. Long Deng also breathed a sigh of relief and nodded slightly. Well done, pack up and let's go. Yes, Captain Lin. A reminder, although the steal stamp has been planted, we will continue to monitor him during this period to ensure that there is no problem with him. You must be careful not to make any mistakes. With an order, several people left quickly. Only Lin Guotao was left sitting in a corner, silent. It was silent for 5 minutes. Suddenly, Lin Guotao chuckled and said, Since you are awake, why are you pretending to be asleep? Li Yu opened his eyes and looked surprised. Sir, why are you here? You acted well. But don't play such tricks in front of me in the future. Excuse me, sir. Li Yu sat up and grinned. With so many parallel memories, he can act well? The reason why he acted so fake is just to fit the character setting. After capturing the memory fragments that were planted with a basic rule steal stamp, Li Yu woke up 3 times. Of course, Long Deng and others were there at that time, and he didn't open his eyes. But by the breathing sounds of the people present, he grasped the number of people and knew that the process of planting the stamp was still going on. So he fell asleep again instantly. This was reflected in the brain wave scan, just like a very normal sleep cycle. Therefore, even the scanning equipment did not detect Li Yu's awakenings. After several pulls like this, Li Yu digested the implanted memory fragment bit by bit in his dream. After confirming that the ideological stamp test of the supervision department passed, he spit out the digested memory fragment, and the operation of concealing the truth was completed. That's right, all memory fragments can be spit out as long as they are not digested completely. But if they have been digested, there is no way to do it this way. If you want to be checked again next time, you just need to do the same operation again. At this time, seeing that Li Yu was in high spirits and in good condition, Lin Guotao breathed a sigh of relief and said, I haven't congratulated you on winning the first place in this rookie competition. I have asked Lu Cheng to go to the award ceremony on your behalf. As for the corresponding rewards, treatment, authority upgrades, etc. They will be arranged for you before the end of today. Thank you, sir. Lin Guotao smiled and said, especially the A-level auxiliary module, which is the most important thing. I have transferred you to the special class to participate in the training. Remember to bring this thing tomorrow. The new instructor will teach you how to use it. Special class, yes, you already have the identity of a formal mecha master. In theory, you can't train with those reserve raw chickens. This will delay your progress. Lin Guotao smiled and said, there are many beginner or intermediate mecha masters in the special class who have been trained for 2 to 4 years. You will surely learn more and grow faster in that environment. Liu nodded, not surprised. Sir, what is the difference between a beginner or intermediate mecha master and an evolver? You can barely be considered a beginner mecha master now. The combat skill can increase the combat power of the mecha by more than 1.5, and the mecha can be active for 1 hour. These are the basic indicators. Lin Guotao continued to explain. For a mid-level mecha master, the basic requirements are a 3-fold increase in combat power, a 3-hour activity time for the mecha, the ability to continuously stimulate the divinity of the mecha for 3 minutes, and the ability to activate a divinity skill with a radiation range of 100 kilometers. A combat skill can achieve a 3-fold increase in the mecha. A divinity skill with a radiation range of 100 kilometers. Liu was surprised. His current perfect combat skill can only increase the mecha by about 1.8 or 1.9. How is it achieved by 3 times? Moreover, a divinity skill can radiate 100 kilometers away. Isn't this a bit fierce? The previous opponents could only release their divinity skills a few hundred meters away at most, right? Lin Guotao noticed Li Yi's surprise and smiled faintly. Of course, it's not enough to just talk about fighting skills, but long-term exposure to divine radiation can improve reaction speed, agility, and physical fitness, which can also improve fighting skills and increase the combat power of mechas. As for divine skills, you will learn them in the future, so I won't reveal too much here. Liu nodded. Yes, in terms of skills, he basically has no room for improvement. If others can reach his level of skills after practicing for a few more years, then the fighting memories he has absorbed over the years will be in vain. What about the upper mecha masters? The upper mecha masters basically require a 10-fold increase in combat power, a 10-hour mecha activity time, and a continuous stimulation of divinity for 10 minutes, which can activate divine skills with a radiation range of 1,000 kilometers. The evolvers vary from person to person. Some evolvers may only be able to become beginner mecha masters, or middle-level ones, while the more powerful ones can even surpass the upper level and reach the heavenly level. Liu thoughtfully said, in other words, some evolvers may have good physiques, but their fighting skills can never reach an increase of more than 1.5 times. The reason he can become an evolver is mainly because of long-term control of divine mechas. Yes, you understand it right, Lin Guotao praised. If you want to become an evolver, you must bathe in divine radiation for a long time to allow your body to slowly break through the limit. Therefore, if a powerful mecha master masters the trick to stimulate divinity, he can naturally become an evolver faster. In addition, high-intensity mecha battles can also promote the stimulation of divinity. That's why we have real machine duels every year to advance the contact time of newcomers with divine mechas. Generally speaking, for newcomers who have won the rookie martial arts competition over the years, it is a first-class result if they become evolvers within 2 years. At this point, Lin Guotao stared at Liu and said in a deep voice, but my expectations of you are even higher. If I ask you, become an evolver within a year, be promoted to a mid-level mecha master within 2 years, and reach a high position within 4 years. Do you have confidence in this? What does the commander mean? Liu was embarrassed. Why did Lin Guotao like to ask if one had confidence so much? Chapter 29 Radiation Rights. It seems that I asked this question too early. Lin Guotao laughed. You should go to the special class and train well first. I will give you a piece of advice first. You must fight for everything. I will come to ask you for the answer in a month. Liu thought of Lin Guotao's style and said thoughtfully, what the commander means is that if my answer is yes, you will get me some benefits, right? Lin Guotao smiled without saying anything, got up and left. When he walked to the door of the ward, he said lightly, if you are fine, you can go to your room first to confirm whether the championship rewards have been received. This is the most important thing. Don't forget it. After seeing Lin Guotao off, Liu also stood up and checked the extra information on his personal communicator. Yes, my room number, guidance information, and the transfer order. Tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock Standard Time, arrive at the 5th area of cabin 12 on time. Hey, there is no need to drive the divine mecha there. Speaking of which, where's the Pluto mecha placed? Liu closed his eyes and sensed, and found that the location of the Pluto mecha was not near him. When you become the exclusive pilot of the divine mecha, you only need to focus on feeling to sense the location of the corresponding mecha. It is probably put into the reserve warehouse. Well, let's go to training tomorrow and see how they arrange it. After a simple packing, Liu followed a navigation on the personal communicator and left the rescue hospital. According to the navigation instructions, this block is the 4th area of cabin 12. In addition to the rescue hospital, the main building facilities include the Environmental Maintenance Bureau, the Ecological Planning Bureau, the Waste Treatment Plant, etc. Districts 1 to 3 are all mecha fighting arenas, and District 6 is the dormitory area he is about to go to. District 7 is a dorm area that can only be visited by those with level 2 authority or above. It is worth mentioning that the personal communication has given an indication that he is a formal mecha master with level 2 authority. District 6. Liu quickly found his dormitory building. The dome of cabin 12 is very high, at least 150 meters. The dormitory building in District 6 is like several giant pillars, supporting the vast dome of cabin 12. According to the signs, Liu quickly stepped into the elevator. As the elevator went up and down, several people came in and out. When they saw Liu, they were surprised. Obviously, they recognized Liu's face through the newcomers' martial arts competition. Of course, there were also indifferent people, most of whom didn't pay much attention to the newcomers' martial arts competition. Most of the people here were in a hurry, as if they had a lot of things to do. And the overall state, most of them were full of energy and spirit. Just looking at the pace, you can tell that their fighting skills are not weak, and some people are likely to beat Lu Cheng. Liu secretly sighed. It seems that most of this building is a place where formal mecha masters can live. When the elevator arrived at the 30th floor, a young woman with a very beautiful face came in. This person is 1.78 meters tall, with a tall figure, round and powerful thighs, and slender arms. She looks full of aura. At first glance, you can feel that this is a person with strong fighting skills. Looking at the face again, an oval face, almond eyes, sword eyebrows, pink cheeks and thin lips, a beautiful and heroic face. When Liu and the woman looked at each other, the other party was stunned at first, then smiled and said, Liu. What a coincidence, I actually met you a day in advance. The voice has a kind of graceful texture. Liu's mind turned, and then he suddenly said, are you also in a special class? The woman nodded gently and stretched out her hand to Liu. My name is Chen Kai-ongzi, and I hope you can give me more guidance in the future. Liu touched her fingers politely. I don't deserve your guidance. I'm a newbie, and I hope you can teach me more. Chen Kai-ongzi smiled and said, I'm not your senior sister. Oh, that's the same period. Liu was a little surprised. Aren't the same period people Liang Xiaoquang and others? How come there is someone I haven't seen yet? I'm here. See you tomorrow. Chen Kai-ongzi left on the 38th floor. Okay, see you later. Not the same period, not the senior sister. Could it be an instructor, or an assistant or something like that? Liu turned his mind and felt that it was not impossible. The other party's aura was almost overflowing. It was estimated that she was a real evolver. It seems reasonable for an evolver to serve as an instructor? Liu left immediately after reaching the 43rd floor. The dormitory is a single room, 35 square meters, with sofas, beds, bookshelves, projection monitors, and bathrooms. It is clean, tidy, and spotless. Although it is a bit narrow, the environment is much better than the dirty and messy tree shed area on Mars where Liu was before. Not bad. It seems that the treatment of the second level authority is not bad. Liu was very satisfied and set a small goal. The next step is to upgrade to a mid-level mecha master as soon as possible. By then, I should be able to change to a larger and more comfortable personal residence. The next day. District 5. Liu followed the instructions and arrived at the designated closed venue entrance 10 minutes in advance. It was Lin Hua and Liang Xiaoquang. They were standing at the corner of the venue entrance, looking like they would never interact with each other, with their chests crossed. It seems that the top 3 people in the final ranking of this martial arts competition have been transferred to the special class. Hey, you two are here quite early. Liu greeted them heartlessly. not thinking that there was anything wrong with beating them up in the finals. Lin Guotao was the first to stare at him and snorted, "Li Yi, don't be complacent. You are only good at fighting skills, but if you want to become an evolver and a mid-level mecha master, you must have a sufficient understanding of divine skills. Without genetic skills, you are destined to be surpassed by me. Just wait." After saying that, without waiting for Li Yi's response, he turned around and raised his head, looking elsewhere. Liang Xiaoquang smiled at Li Yi, nodded slightly, and said, "Li Yi, I am very happy to train with you. I hope you don't take the unpleasantness in the martial arts competition to heart. I just used the best strategy I could think of. Don't worry, it's just a normal competition. As long as you don't use tricks, I have no problem." Li Yi has always been very gentle to his defeated opponent, because his opponent is destined to never catch up with him again. Of course, if I find out that someone is doing something, I will let him know what the biggest difference between the poor and the powerful is. Liang Xiaoquang was stunned. "What's the difference?" Li Yi smiled, revealing a mouthful of cold white teeth. "There is no weakness, and you can abandon everything at any time." At this moment, Liang Xiaoquang actually had the illusion that the Pluto Mecha appeared in front of him, as if he was falling into an ice cellar. Wow, the newcomers have really arrived. Is Li Yi, who is known as the strongest fighting rookie king, here? Just as the scene cooled down, a man carrying a huge backpack in one hand trotted over at the door, shouting. As soon as this person came over, a cold and icy aura spread. Although he looked reckless, his aura was actually somewhat similar to that of the Pluto Mecha. After this person came, his eyes swept around Li Yi and the other two, and then fell on Li Yi's face. "How is it? Is it fun to control the Pluto Mecha? This is the divine Mecha I have always dreamed of, and you got it first. Oh, I am so heartbroken that I can't breathe. How about it? Do you want to fight with me? If I win, the Pluto Mecha will belong to me. What do you think?" Li Yi looked puzzled. "Are you mentally ill?" He suddenly felt a little more disappointed with the special class. This special class can't be full of such weirdos. No, there's nothing wrong with my brain. I don't want the right to control the Pluto Mecha, I want your divine radiation right." This person was not angry at all, but showed a smiling look, as if he had you in his hands. Chapter 30 Instructor. Divine radiation right, that's right. Although to become an evolver, the longer you can receive divine radiation, the better. A person's physique has its limitations. Within a day, there is always a limit to a single divine radiation. The man carrying the backpack with one hand smiled and said, "Then you can transfer and exchange your excess divine radiation. In that case, why can't this person be me?" At this time, Lin Guotao couldn't help but interrupted and said, "Li Yi, don't be fooled by this man. This man is obviously an evolver. If you fight him, it's obvious that you are giving him the right to divine radiation." Li Yi looked at Lin Guotao in surprise, smiled and said, "You are kind." Lin Guotao snorted coldly, "You are my opponent. I will not allow you to fall behind easily." "Li Yi, I can also bet my divine radiation right. I can now stimulate it for 6 minutes a day, and my body can currently withstand 4 minutes, so there are still 2 minutes of extra time. How about it? If you beat me, these extra 2 minutes will be yours. It's a good deal, right? Besides, you are so strong in fighting, and you are the strongest and newest human king in history. With such strong fighting ability, you may not have no chance of winning against me, an evolver. If you win, you can earn 2 more minutes of other divine radiation rights. Where can you find such a good thing?" The man was not angry, and continued with a smile. When Li Yi was about to answer, "Zhang, you kid are bullying the newcomer here again," a clear voice came from the front. The man, that is, Zhang, immediately shook his shoulders, lowered his voice and quickly said to Li Yi, "Boy, don't tell me what we just talked about, otherwise I will have a way to deal with you." As soon as the voice fell, bang! Zhang flew into the air, was hit like a rag bag, hit the wall, and slid down. Li Yi blinked and found that there was a tall and curvy woman in a tight combat uniform in front of him. It was Chen Kai-ongzi. Li Yi remained calm on his face, but was still secretly surprised in his heart. This woman is so fast. Even he only noticed Chen Kai-ongzi's rapid approach when she was near him. Moreover, Zhang was originally a strong evolver, but he was easily kicked away by Chen Kai-ongzi. Li Yi sighed, he still had to become an evolver. Otherwise, even if he had an advantage in fighting skills, his physique was too weak, and he would still be inferior. At this time, Chen Kaiyongzi looked at Zhang Zuqiang, who was beaten into a corner, and said calmly, Zhang Zuqiang, I don't object to exchanging divine radiation time in the class, but I object to forced buying and selling. If I catch you bullying newcomers again, it won't be as simple as kicking you away. Zhang Zuqiang stood up, stroking his waist, and said with a forced smile, Instructor, no matter how much courage you give me, I dare not violate the rules openly. Did I discuss this with Li Yi? You also know that my physique is inherently cold. If I can have a higher level divine mecha radiate the divinity for me a few more times, my advancement speed will also increase, which is also very good for the results of our class, Chen Kaiyongzi said lightly. I have always only looked at what people do, not what they say. You don't need to explain the reason. Hurry up and gather in. As she said, Chen Kaiyongzi walked to the door, and the gate opened after facial recognition. She then waved to Li Yi and the other two. Li Yi understood and walked into the door immediately. Lin Hua and Liang Xiaoquan followed, and Zhang Zuqiang was the last. Today is your first day of reporting. I will help you input your information later. You can come in by yourself, change into your training clothes directly, and then gather at the playground. 5 minutes later. In the small playground in the stadium. Li Yi and the other two were wearing white training clothes and stood on one side. Chen Kaiyongzi stood with her hands behind her back in front of the square formation of about 90 people and introduced them. Today, our Mecha Division Special Selection 3rd class has transferred 3 newcomers, namely, the official Mecha Division Li Yi, the quasi-Mecha Division Liang Xiaoquan, and the quasi-Mecha Division Lin Hua. Everyone applaud and welcome them. Clap, clap, clap. Okay, the 3 of you, enter the queue according to your height. The 3 did as they were told. Chen Kaiyongzi nodded and continued to lecture. With the addition of newcomers and the gradual return of some old members, our Special Team 3 has finally been successfully organized in the past few days. Well, starting today, our training session will officially begin. Before I start, let me talk about a few key points. First, this training session is an elimination system. Anyone who falls behind and can't keep up with the training rhythm will be immediately sent back to the original team, and their authority will be downgraded by 1 level. Second, this training session must be comprehensively improved. In addition to the subjects of fighting skills, mecha skills, divinity skills, and divinity stimulation, you must also learn basic mechanical principles, basic mechanical operations, basic biological principles, basic genetic analysis, interstellar exploration, human sociology, cosmic sociology, starship civilization, and other basic subjects. The training session will be unified for the final exam. At that time, a weighted ranking will be made based on the comprehensive score and the points of the actual machine battle. Those with the highest ranking will receive corresponding rewards. For specific reward items, you can go to the notice board to check. Third, after the training, our special class needs to participate in an alien exploration project. At that time, I will select the best candidates. Please make sure to perform well. After hearing the last sentence, someone in the queue immediately raised his hand to ask, Instructor, is the alien exploration project a scientific research exploration, resource exploration, or civilization exploration? Chen Kaiyongzi nodded slightly and praised, this key point is well grasped. I can tell you responsibly that this time we are exploring the undeveloped ruins of ancient civilizations. As soon as this was said, everyone was in an uproar. Li Yu was immediately very curious. Why did the ancient civilization ruins cause such a big reaction from everyone? Is there a big benefit in it? Observing the people around him, most of them showed expressions of excitement and infinite expectation. Li Yu was immediately like a cat scratching his heart, but no one whispered to each other and revealed a word. He could only guess that perhaps exploring the ruins of ancient civilizations could make people stronger and more powerful. Silence, Chen Kaiyongzi said calmly, since you are eager for this opportunity, you should perform well. This is a good thing that our special class has not encountered for several years. Everyone, do your best. Now, squad leader Feng Tao, you will lead the team to warm up. In 10 minutes, we will start the first stage of physical training. 1 hour and 20 minutes later. Li Yu sank into the nutrition cabin naked, feeling the rapid rise in the water level of the nutrient solution, and let out a long breath. What Chen Kaiyongzi called physical training was actually a fast return run under the gravity cabin. The gravity multiples enjoyed by each person are also different. AI will make real-time fine adjustments based on each person's physical condition. Generally speaking, Non-evolved people fluctuate between 4 and 7 times, and evolved people are more than 10 times. Therefore, even with Li Yi's physical control, he only lasted for more than an hour before being sent to the nutrition cabin. When he was sent out, he clearly saw that half of the people were still holding on. 2 hours later, everyone regrouped. Chen Kaiyongzi stood in front of the team, looking around at everyone with a cold gaze, making everyone in the front row lower their heads. I am very disappointed that the newly reorganized Special Selection Class 3, with so many veterans who participated in the previous training sessions, would regress so seriously during the interval. Lin Dongwang, Ma Leipu, Hizai Okio, you three can go back and pack your things. As soon as these words came out, Li Yi clearly saw that the man standing diagonally in front of him had his shoulders shaking violently. Instructor, give us another chance. Chapter 31 Alien. In the first few rows to the right of Li Yi, someone was also shouting loudly, Instructor, I have not regressed. My data is still very good. Why should I withdraw from the training? Chen Kaiyongzi said indifferently. Lin Dongwang, we are safely receiving the support of all mankind and have the exclusive use of the divine Mecha. If we don't make progress, we will regress. I have reiterated this point many times. Why do you keep violating it? Lin Dongwang was silent. On the other side, there was also a woman with a good appearance who pleaded, Instructor, I have a mission to perform in the past 2 months. I have less personal free time, so I haven't made any progress. Can you please give me a break? Chen Kaiyongzi glanced at the woman and shook his head and said, I have just found time to check your mission records. Basically, they are all affiliated tasks arranged by your He family to brush merit points. In fact, you have a lot of time to complete personal training, right? After this, the woman fell silent. Chen Kaiyongzi clenched her fists and squinted her eyes, saying, You can still leave with dignity now. If you don't disappear within 30 seconds, don't blame me for doing it myself. The three gave up struggling and left with heavy steps. Now, the rest of you line up and re-enter the gravity cabin. Everyone must complete at least 3 rounds of physical training every day before starting mecha training. Everyone sighed and could only grit their teeth and persevere. In a blink of an eye, the morning training camp was over. Li Yi came to the cafeteria. Let me tell you, according to the information I have learned, most of the meals in the cafeteria are pre-made meals made on the assembly line. There is only one meat dish that is freshly killed and cooked. You have to be prepared for the scramble. The man who was talking to Li Yi was named Ke Xiaodong, and he was standing on Li Yi's right. After the morning gravity training, the two had basically become familiar with each other. According to Li Yi, Ke Xiaodong was one of the top 10 newcomers on Seton last year. At that time, he ranked 4th and just missed the quota for last year's special class. It was not until this year that he entered this period. At present, Ke Xiaodong can continuously stimulate divinity for about 1 minute, and he is only 1 step away from becoming an evolver. By the way, do you know why everyone was so excited when the instructor talked about the exploration plan of the ancient civilization ruins? Li Yi is not interested in which meals in the cafeteria are pre-prepared and which are freshly made, so he simply changes the subject. You don't know, I really don't know, and I would like to ask you to explain it to me. Ke Xiaodong looked at Li Yi in surprise. I saw someone on the internal network saying that you are from a poor family. I didn't believe it at first. How could you have such strong fighting skills without receiving systematic training since childhood? Now that you can ask this question, I have to believe it. Tell me, is there a possibility that it is because I am from a poor family that I can practice the taste that the powerful family cannot practice? Ha. I think it is still unlikely. Of course, you are from the poor family of Mars. I have only seen the poor family of Saturn. It is normal to have a difference. Ke Xiaodong touched his chin thoughtfully. Let's put this question aside for now. Tell me what the benefits of ancient civilization ruins are. Li Yi was too lazy to argue. It's very simple. Most of our divine mechas were excavated from ancient civilization ruins. Do you know this? Li Yi nodded. Ke Xiaodong continued, so, did you know that divine mechas can absorb excess divinity from the ruins of ancient civilizations and then upgrade? Li Yi was a little surprised. Can divine mechas be upgraded? Yes, this is no secret in the Quan family. In our Xingyu Federation, all the ancient civilization ruins found can basically dig out divine mechas, and their manufacturing processes and internal principles are also similar. Therefore, scholars unanimously believe that these ancient civilization ruins all originated from the same great civilization. Therefore, Any of our divine mechas can go to any undeveloped ancient civilization ruins and absorb excess divinity. There are even some divine mechas that were originally S-level or A-level, but due to the long-term lack of divinity, they will slowly be downgraded to a lower level of divine mechas. For example, the Pluto mecha you are driving. Many people say that it is very likely that it was originally an A-level divine mecha. Li Yu was amazed. Why do you think so? Because you are a celestial god sequence. Most of the celestial god sequences in our Xingyu Federation are currently A-level or B-level. While D-level ones are rare, Li Yu was deeply moved. It seems that Chen Kai-Ongzi is right. In addition to being able to fight, some professional content must be learned more. Otherwise, in the subsequent growth process, you will not even know what opportunity is. While talking, the two had already taken food from the machine meal queue and found an empty seat to eat. Originally, Xiaodong wanted to grab the fresh meat. However, seeing the densely packed line, he gave up the idea. Not long after the two sat down. Suddenly, there was a click on the table, and a plate was put down. Someone sat down diagonally opposite Li Yi. Looking up, it was Zhang Zuqiang who had been making trouble at the door before. Oh, why don't you go get some fresh meat? This is a top-grade high-energy alien species. One bite can effectively enhance your mental and physical strength, which is very good for the afternoon training, Zhang Zuqiang said, poking the pudding-like crystal clear and smooth meat on the plate with a fork as if showing off. Xiaodong thought the other party was Li Yi's friend, so he smiled and shook his head and said, I also want to grab it, but unfortunately, all the ones who can grab it are revolvers. Zhang Zuqiang looked at Li Yi and said with a smile, if you ask, Li Yi, I can give you this piece of top-grade high-energy alien meat. Xiaodong was immediately envious. Is this the appearance that only the rookie king with the highest historical points can have? Li Yi smiled and said, do you still want to bet with me? Of course, I have wanted the divine radiation of the Pluto mecha for a long time. I have already applied for a replacement and am waiting for approval, but you killed me in the middle of the process. Zhang Zuqiang's eyes were bright, and he did not hide his purpose. Xiaodong realized that the two of them were not quite right, and kept winking at Li Yi, asking him not to be impulsive. Li Yi seemed to have not seen it, and asked, is it common to exchange divine radiation rights like this within the special class? Of course, of course. Everyone is doing this, because it is a win-win situation. If you don't want to bet with me, I can also exchange with you, 1 minute for 1 minute. Isn't this reasonable? Zhang Zuqiang was overjoyed when he saw Li Yi loosen up. Although he originally wanted to buy it for 0 yuan, since Chen Kai-Ongzi had discovered the clues before, he was also considering changing to a safer way. No, I don't think it's reasonable. Li Yi shook his head. The Pluto mecha is your upper mecha. Why can the divine radiation of your lower mecha be exchanged with any 1-to-1? Moreover, I am not sure if there are any disadvantages to accepting more radiation from lower divine mechas. Zhang Zuqiang's face suddenly turned cold. Chapter 32 Ranking. Boy, don't be shameless. A cold and sharp aura was released, and Xiaodong, who was sitting next to Zhang Zuqiang, shuddered. Li Yi continued to eat as if nothing had happened. Zhang Zuqiang's eyes became more gloomy. Li Yi said slowly, it's 2198 and you are still saying harsh words. This is the special class for mecha divisions, and there are strict military rules and disciplines. You want to use your military rogue style to cause trouble. Is it your brain that is not working, or do you think my brain is not working? Zhang Zuqiang's eyes flashed with surprise, and the gloom on his face slowly subsided. He sneered, boy, calm down. I won't scare you. You should reconsider the deal. I can give you time to fully understand the benefits of exchanging more divine mechas, and whether there are any disadvantages. I will talk to you in detail in 3 days. I hope you can give me a reasonable answer. If you don't give me a reasonable answer, don't blame me for making reasonable use of the elimination rules of the training camp to eliminate you and directly downgrade your authority. After saying that, Zhang Zuqiang grabbed the plate and stood up to leave. Xiaodong watched Zhang Zuqiang walk away and couldn't help but cursed. This kind of person is a cancer among mecha masters. I really don't understand why the special class picks such a person. There are all kinds of birds in the forest, not to mention our special class that brings together different experiences from various planets in the Xingyu Federation. Li Yi took a bite of pre-cooked meat and said casually. Xiaodong stuck the chopsticks into the pre-made meat and said viciously, on our Sen star, people who destroy internal unity and bully the weak will be challenged by everyone to a duel. Unfortunately, the atmosphere here is still too gentle. Without the iron blood of our sun star, if I were not strong enough, I would definitely duel with him. Li Yi, why do you look indifferent? He's going to mess with you, you know. It is easy to downgrade authority but difficult to upgrade it. Once it is downgraded, many of your treatment and resource supply will be affected. Li Yi laughed and said, don't get excited, the other party is just a paper tiger. It is his nature to be fierce on the outside but weak on the inside. Don't worry, eat and keep your spirits up. There is also mecha training in the afternoon. Of course, he knew that facing the covetousness of an evolver at this stage, the pressure was not small. But he had rich experience in solving similar situations, so he was not afraid of anything. Okay, in that case, I won't worry about it, but if you need my help, just let me know. Xingyu patted his chest and spoke in a loud voice. In the corner, Lin Guotao watched this scene and thought, Li Yi is so confident, is he bluffing, or does he have a hidden strength? Being able to control the divine mecha for more than an hour shows that his physique is very close to that of an evolver, right, but he comes from a poor family, maybe he has never seen the real horror of an evolver, so he is so confident? Should I find a chance to warn him? The afternoon training began. The subjects are divine stimulation training and mecha skills learning. Both require driving the divine mecha, and the actual machine training location is in the 8th, 9th, and 10th sub-areas of Cabin 12. Before starting, Chen Kaiyongzi took some time to tell Li Yi and the other two how to use the auxiliary module. The so-called auxiliary module is actually a mechanical pendant. You only need to wear it on any part of your body when entering the cabin. In the cockpit, the auxiliary module will automatically connect with the divine mecha. Then, when the driver is overloaded, it will automatically share the pressure. At this time, Chen Kaiyongzi held Li Yi's A-level auxiliary module in his hand and said with emotion, what a good thing, an A-level auxiliary module. Even I don't have this thing. Lin Guotao couldn't help asking, instructor, you should be a middle-level or upper-level evolver, how could you not even have an A-level auxiliary module? Chen Kaiyongzi smiled and said, so you should cherish your novice gift pack. There is a limited quota of auxiliary modules on the ship. Even evolvers can hardly get them, and B-level and A-level are particularly precious. As he said, Chen Kaiyongzi handed the A-level auxiliary module back to Li Yi. You have this thing. After the training camp is over every day, you can practice more privately for a while. You don't have to rush to practice fighting skills for the time being, but you must stimulate divinity as early as possible. It is best to become an evolver before the end of the training camp. Li Yi's heart moved at this time. Chen Kaiyongzi's words are full of meaning. If you can become an evolver after the training, will you have the opportunity to participate in the exploration of the ruins of ancient civilizations? Li Yi wanted to ask one more question, but in a blink of an eye, Chen Kaiyongzi had flashed to the center of the playground and shouted softly, assemble. There is no secret to the stimulation of divinity, it is purely based on self-realization. High-intensity mecha combat is also conducive to stimulating the stimulation of divinity. The content of this afternoon's training camp is to go to the virtual reality to learn the mecha skills recommended by the AI. Then, I will assign you to each other according to the combat power index determined by the AI, and fight against each other. No cheating is allowed in the battle, you must go all out. Of course, it is not allowed to maliciously attack the opponent after the opponent is defeated. If someone performs too poorly, I will not hesitate to eliminate them directly. Now, I will announce the current combat power index ranking evaluated by the AI. Chen Kaiyongzi's style is really as swift as fire. He finished speaking the key points in just a few words, and then with a wave of his hand, a detailed holographic projection list suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Li Yi quickly found his name. Interesting, I can actually rank 51st? Are the old people behind me so lame? The total number of people is 95. And the last few in the ranking are not Liang Xiaokong and Lin Guotao. Lin Guotao is 84th, Liang Xiaokong is 87th, and there are people behind them who are worse than them. Li Yi estimated that the ones at the back are most likely the weak top 10 from last year and the year before. After reading the list, Xingyu suddenly turned his head to look at Li Yi, and said in shock, why are you ranked so high? It's actually 4 ranks higher than me. I'm only a few days away from being an evolver. Divine radiation, Li Yi smiled and said, you have to ask what the evaluation logic of AI is. During the conversation, Li Yi scanned Zhang Zuqiang's ranking. It was 23rd. No wonder this guy is so arrogant. It turns out that this ranking is his confidence. Many people who have watched Li Yi's game were also shocked. The newcomer Li Yi is so powerful, and his ranking is infinitely close to the evolvers, right? Lin Guotao was also a little stunned, thinking, the gap between me and Li Yi is so big. Instructor, what is the logic of the AI ranking this time? I am obviously more evolved than some people, but my ranking is lower. Isn't this unreasonable? Someone raised his hand to ask a question. Chen Kaiyongzi smiled lightly and said, this is a combat index ranking based on your training data in the gravity cabin and your recent combat performance. If you are not convinced, you can perform more in the next actual machine training, and the AI will naturally increase your corresponding assessment score. By the way, this combat power index ranking is refreshed in real time and will continue to be updated until the end of the training camp. The list will be finalized at the last second after the training camp ends, and the ranking is your actual combat performance. In addition, I will also refer to this list to select people for the Ancient Civilization Exploration Project. Do your best. Next, you have to be patient and calm and lay a solid foundation. Chapter 33, Shock Technique. After the rankings were announced, everyone found their seats in the virtual reality and entered to learn mecha skills. Chen Kaiyongzi gave them a total of 2 hours of learning time. Only then would they fight in real machines. At this time, Li Yi put on a black helmet weighing more than 10 pounds and lay down diagonally. Xingyu also sat down beside him, muttering in a low voice, I should have learned mecha skills well before. I wonder what AI can analyze for me. Obviously, Xingyu is also a member of the powerful family and has been learning mecha skills since he was a child. Not wanting to pay attention to this guy's Versailles, Li Yi directly entered the virtual reality. On a desert wasteland, Li Yi's body was like a snowflake on an old TV, flashing and then appearing out of thin air. Immediately afterwards, the outer part of his body was suddenly wrapped in layers of pure black fluid, and then enlarged in proportion. It kept growing taller and reached a height of 43 meters before it stopped expanding. Interesting, it can actually simulate the Pluto Mecha. In front of him, there was a huge mecha with black and white fluids entwined and flowing on the outside of the leather armor. The height is also exactly 43 meters. In front of Li Yi, an AI analysis data panel popped up. Detailed explanation of Li Yi's combat power index, highest gravity tolerance multiple, 7.4, has exceeded the historical limit of non-evolvers. Average gravity tolerance multiple, 7.1, unarmed combat skill index, 9.7. The current highest score in Yaochi, comprehensive reaction index, 7.8, close to the standard of evolvers. Comprehensive strength index, 6.9, mecha skill index, 3, divine stimulation index, 0.1, divine skill index, 0. Along with a refresh of the AI data panel, a sweet AI female voice was heard. Welcome to the virtual training assistant platform. I am your virtual assistant Xiaoqi, trainer Li Yi. The special subject of this training is mecha skills. The essence of mecha skills is the skills often used in combat between mechas of the same level when they cannot break through the defense. If you master this skill, you can make your opponent feel controlled and stiff at any time. If you practice it to a high level, you can even transcend the protection of the divine mecha and put the driver to death. You can also know how to protect yourself in the mecha when being attacked by a strong opponent. It is a skill that must be firmly mastered in short-range interstellar combat. According to the judgment, your current mecha skill level is ordinary, according to the AI analysis. I will now teach you the basic mecha skill of Yaochi, the Gen character skill. Please study it carefully. The voice information flowed quickly, and the black and white mecha in front began to move. Li Yu also knew that compared with his perfect level fighting skills, the mecha skills were indeed only temporarily mastered in a small part of the memory fragments. After all, he had no chance to contact the mecha before, and he could not get the relevant memory fragments in his dreams. In terms of the foundation, it is indeed much weaker. Before, he was able to stun Lin Guotao in the air, not relying on his three-legged cat mecha skills. Instead, he used fighting skills to forcibly pull the opponent to the most comfortable position for his mecha skills, which achieved such an effect. Therefore, he did not slack off, and his eyes were fixed on the black and white mecha. The black and white mecha's starting action is a bit like ancient boxing, and it has a kind of elegant and unrestrained beauty. Immediately afterwards, the black and white mecha began to speed up its punching speed. It was thrown out like a giant dart, and then quickly stopped. The sound of air vibration between the fists was like a hurricane tearing the atmosphere, which was very terrifying. In addition to fists, Even body movements were the same. It attacked quickly, and then stopped quickly, creating a huge impact in an instant. As a fighting master, Li Yu naturally saw the principle immediately. This is essentially the same as the shaking fist and whip fist in fighting. Of course, how to use a huge mecha to achieve the same effect requires considering the subtle differences between the human body and the mecha. This is not difficult for Li Yi. From a high-level perspective, the difference problem can be easily smoothed out. After watching it once, Li Yi also controlled the virtual Pluto mecha and began to practice. The first practice was still a little awkward. It couldn't produce the same violent gas explosion. The second practice was already about 70% of the appearance. The third practice basically achieved a complete replica. Just when he was preparing for the fourth practice, a voice came from AI Zaichi. "Congratulations, Li Yi. Your efficiency in mastering the shock skill is amazing, far exceeding that of all the students. You have triggered the hidden training task set by the 4th generation instructor Yu Hangsing. Do you want to accept this hidden training task?" Li Yu was a little surprised. Hidden training task? What will happen if you choose to accept it? AI Zaichi explained. Each generation of instructors of the special class has the obligation to set their own unique skills as hidden tasks in the AI Auxiliary Training Assistant system, and those who meet the relevant conditions will learn them. The task you are triggering now comes from Instructor Hangsing, who is currently a celestial evolver. If you learn it completely, you will have the opportunity to master the divine skill invented by Instructor Yu Hangsing, the Stellar Shock Explosion. This naming is quite second-rate. Li Yi said in surprise. How can mecha skills be related to divine skills? Student Li Yi, this is your misunderstanding. There are many examples of mecha skills and fighting skills evolving into divine skills. AI Zaichi smiled and said, after all, whether it is mecha skills or fighting skills, they are all a way of using strength. The same is true for divine skills. Then if I accept this hidden mission, is there any penalty for failure? In addition, if I complete this hidden training mission, can I master all of this divine skill? AI Zaichi said patiently, there is no objective penalty, but if you are worried that it will distract you and affect this training, then that is a question you need to weigh. As for whether you can master this divine skill, since there is no precedent, I can't give you an answer. I can only tell you that there is this possibility. Li Yu nodded, I understand, then I choose to accept the mission. After figuring this out, Li Yu did not hesitate at all. What he lacked was not a time trade-off. It was a channel for access to high-end skills. As long as you can actually access related things, you can generate related parallel memory fragments. The success rate will naturally be much higher. AI Zaichi nodded. Okay, confirm that trainee Li Yi accepts the hidden training mission. Phase 1 training will start now. Please be prepared. Li Yi waited attentively. In front of him, 543-meter-high divine mechas with bodies like enlarged giant bears appeared out of thin air. Please trainees, use the shock skill to knock down all opponents within 3 minutes. Remember, the knockdown action must use the shock skill. Violators will be judged as a training failure and the hidden training channel will be completely closed. Phase 1, you only have one chance to fail, please do your best. Without the warning from AI Zaichi, Li Yu naturally entered the most concentrated state of mind. Facing 5 sturdy opponents, he must play to his advantage and attack with all his strength to prevent them from surrounding him. The Pluto mecha began to charge forward. 5 giant bear mechas also rushed forward, and the ground shook as they stepped. Chapter 34 Stiffness. The body of the Pluto mecha flashed, and the speed was maximized. Bang! The current giant bear mecha was directly knocked away. Li Yu felt relieved. Fortunately, the fighting level was not too strong, and he could win. In just a moment of collision, he judged the overall strength of his opponent. It was roughly equivalent to 1.2 magnetic abyss mechas driven by Liang Xiaoquang. Facing the encirclement of 5 mechas, there was a certain risk. But with Li Yi's rich fighting experience, this was really nothing. The key was how to defeat the opponent with a shock skill. At this time, the body of the Pluto mecha shook again and again, avoiding the attacks of 2 giant bear mechas in succession. Then, twisting the waist and turning around, rotating the shoulders and swinging the arms, the huge forces from the superposition of the 2 rotations were instantly released. When hitting the head of the giant bear mecha on the side, the force was slightly turned, shock skill. Bang! A blow without any fancy. The power was directly transmitted into the cockpit, and the giant bear mecha crashed instantly. Very good, I've got one. With this kind of practical operation, although it was virtual, Li Yu quickly mastered the rhythm and his movements became faster and faster. 2 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. When the last giant bear mecha fell to the ground with a bang and turned into light particles and disappeared, AI Zaichi's voice came, "You have a high understanding of the shock skill. It seems that your powerful fighting skills helped. Congratulations, you passed the first stage. Unfortunately, there is no reward for passing the first stage. Your next goal is the second stage. Please keep working hard. When you complete the second stage, you will get the advanced moves of the shock skill from instructor Yu Hengxing. Stay tuned." "Now, do you need to rest, or go directly to the second stage?" Li Yu said. "Go directly." "Okay, choose to go directly to the second stage." As soon as AI Zaichi finished speaking, 5 giant bear mechas appeared in front of Li Yu again. However, judging from their outlines, they are obviously thicker than the previous 5. Interesting, by increasing the thickness, it will increase the difficulty of breaking into the cockpit. Li Yu narrowed his eyes and controlled the Pluto Mecha to rush up. Outside the virtual reality training field, Chen Kai-Ongzi was checking everyone's virtual reality training progress. Suddenly, an icon flashed on the light screen in front of her. After checking the information, she raised her eyebrows. Teacher Yu's hidden training task was triggered by someone. This new king has some tricks. Is his talent really so outstanding? After thinking about it, Chen Kai-Ongzi checked the specific record information. Learned the Zhen character skill in 5 minutes. It seems that his fighting talent has played a role. I just don't know how many surprises this little guy can bring me. However, he should not be able to really master that divine skill. After all, although he can activate the Pluto Mecha, the matching degree has not been improved after all. It should be impossible, right? Chen Kai-Ongzi was a little uncertain. She is very strong. Not only is she ranked in the Yaoqi, but even in other main ships of the Deep Space Fleet, many people have heard of her as one of the strongest middle-level evolvers of the younger generation. She has a very high vision. But Li Yu's case is indeed rare. 2 hours passed quickly. The helmet automatically moved out and Li Yu opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, he felt as if he was in another world. This hidden training task is really too intensive. In each training stage, giant bear mechas with different characteristics appear. At the beginning, 1 or 2 shock skills can knock down the opponent. From stage 2, the difficulty began to increase. In stage 4, it even takes 7 or 8 seconds to charge up to barely knock down an opponent. The whole process also requires overcoming the siege of stronger opponents. For this reason, he has failed twice in stage 4, and there are 2 more challenge opportunities left. Of course, when he cleared stage 2, he also learned Yu Hengxing's advanced shock skill, repeated shock. It was also with the skill of repeated shock that he cleared stage 3 after a failure. At present, it is necessary to clear stage 4 to obtain new advanced skills. Anyway, these 2 hours are worth it. They greatly increase my mecha attack methods and make up for my shortcomings. I just don't know how big the gap is between my actual machine level and Zhang Zuqiang's now. As long as the gap is not big, we can launch an actual machine battle and put down his arrogance. Li Yu's thoughts flashed, and he planned to take a good look at Zhang Zuqiang's actual machine performance later. Beside him, Xiaodong also broke away from the virtual reality. The boy looked sluggish and murmured in a low voice, "My mecha skills are so weak. What have I learned from childhood to college?" Li Yu asked curiously. "Why do you look so shocked? How did the AI analyze it for you in the virtual reality?" Xiaodong's face turned pale. "You'd better not ask. Asking makes me even more sad." Li Yu scanned the audience and found that there were quite a few people like Xiaodong who looked depressed. Moreover, judging from their facial features and temperament, these people are most likely children of the Quan family. Looking at Lin Huali and Xiaoquang again, they also looked a little depressed. This aroused Li Yu's curiosity. "Xiaodong, what on earth did you encounter?" Xiaodong had almost recovered, and looked at Li Yu speechlessly. "I am more curious, why you were not hit? Is your fighting skills really impeccable?" "Impeccable?" Li Yu grasped the key words keenly. "Could it be that the AI found your flaws and continuously carried out key attacks on your flaws?" Xiaodong shook his head and gritted his teeth and said, "If that were the case, it would be fine. The key is that I was hit with controlled stiffness continuously, and then forced to wake up. It feels like being woken up just after falling asleep, and being knocked unconscious just after waking up, over and over again, helpless. Can you understand the pain of being tortured?" Li Yu touched his chin. "That's it." Xiaodong was angry. "What do you mean that's it? Why don't you try it? I haven't been hit with controlled stiffness either. Li Yi spread his hands helplessly. Xiaodong burst into tears immediately. You are such a beast. It's good to have strong fighting skills, but others can't hit you, so of course your mecha skills can't be effective, you beast. During the conversation, Chen Kaiyongzi shouted, "Silence, I know some students have suffered a big blow, I'm sorry. This just shows how weak your fighting skills and mecha skills are. Remember this feeling of being continuously hit and stiffened. Once you are familiar with it, you will know how to maximize your self-protection when facing similar moments on a real battlefield. Divine mechas are difficult to break through, and the weakest point is us pilots. Please remember this and don't be discouraged. Now, take a 10-minute break. The next training content is a real machine pairing battle. I will announce the order of the rounds of the real machine pairing battle. Please be prepared. The combat performance will be immediately refreshed to your ranking list. Be sure to go all out, so that it is possible to stimulate the divinity as much as possible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Watching. Chen Kaiyongzi began to announce the real opponents. This time she sent a message through AI assistants, notifying everyone to go to the designated location to participate in the battle. The 95 people in the class were divided into 48 groups by her, and 12 groups fought each time, which was completed in 4 rounds. The one who had a eye needed to fight with Chen Kaiyongzi. Li Yi's battle was in the first round, and his opponent was the evolver ranked 42nd, 9 rankings higher than him. Zhang Qingjian, the mecha was a D-level Vulcan sequence, the Flame Crow mecha. The battle area was in the number 4 fighting arena in Zone 8. Xiaodong's battle area was also near Li Yi, so the two naturally went to the corresponding location together. During the conversation on the road, Xiaodong learned about Li Yi's opponent, and his face suddenly changed. Yizi, be careful. Zhang Qingjian and I joined the ship in the same year. He, like you, swept our top 10 and took first place. Although his points and records are worse than yours now, his match is very high. I guess his genetic skills have begun to be upgraded to divine skills. Li Yi nodded. Okay, I'll be careful. Remember, his fighting skills are not weak either. Don't take it lightly. That guy is arrogant and vain. If you don't last 2 or 3 minutes in his hands, he will probably mock you when he sees you in the future. Xiaodong warned him carefully. Seeing his frowning brows, he must have suffered a lot at the hands of Zhang Qingjian. Seeing this, Li Yi simply patted Xiaodong on the shoulder and said with a smile, I also want to try the quality of the evolver. Don't worry, I may be able to help you regain some phase. Xiaodong shook his head and said, although you are indeed very powerful, you are still 1 year away from training. You should take it easy. It is best to use your most powerful fighting skills to surprise him before he uses his divine skills, and then admit defeat. This is the most decent way. Li Yi did not explain any more. In fact, after learning the Gen character skills, his mecha combat power has been improved by a small level. It may not be unable to beat the divine mecha driven by the first level evolver. Moreover, the ranking gap between Zhang Qingjian and Li Yi is not that big, which makes Li Yi look forward to this real machine training. Soon, the two arrived at the number 4 fighting field in Area 8. At both ends of the fighting field, there stood 2 giant steel monsters about 40 meters high. On the left is the Pluto mecha with pure black armor, a sturdy body, and huge eyes like a prison. On the right side is a Flame Crow mecha with a black background and red stripes, 2 humps on the back of the shoulder blade, and a slender and strange body. Although they are of similar height. But to the naked eye, it is obvious that the Pluto mecha is more powerful and the Flame Crow mecha is more agile. In other fighting arenas, other divine mechas have already stood on one side, which were obviously arranged by Chen Kaiyongzi. All those who are ready can take their positions and start fighting. Remember, don't just fight blindly, but consciously feel the divinity that is everywhere inside the mecha and try to stimulate it. Chen Kaiyongzi's voice came from above. Li Yi took a quick look and found that it was a huge mecha of 70 to 80 meters high. The color of its body almost blended with a cold-toned wall. If you don't look carefully, you can't even find this huge divine mecha. Hiss. This giant can easily eliminate the sense of existence. Is it an advanced application skill of divinity? Li Yi sighed and ran quickly to the elevator on the side of the Pluto Mecha. Opposite him, Zhang Qingjian seemed to have already rushed up, as if ready to start the Flame Crow Mecha. Suddenly, Li Yi's footsteps suddenly stopped while he was jogging. Oops. He suddenly remembered a very embarrassing problem. Although he captured some new memory fragments to digest last night. But the startup speed of his Pluto Mecha is still slow. According to his estimation, it still needs 50 minutes to start. He had no choice but to open the communication and dial Chen Kai-ongzi, the upper directory of the address book, and report in a low voice, "Instructor, my Pluto Mecha will take about 50 minutes to start." "What 50? Chen Kai-ongzi, who was preparing to observe the fight in the cockpit, paused. She patted her forehead as if she had thought of something, a little embarrassed. Yes, when she manually arranged the pairing, she only cared about whether the opponent was suitable. But she forgot to check the startup time. Fortunately, this was in the cockpit and the expression could not be seen. Chen Kai-ongzi breathed a sigh of relief and said calmly, "Well, I know the data of each of you. Your opponent Zhang Qingjian is quick to react and his fighting style is slick, which just restrains your precise and fair style. As opponents, you too can stimulate the arousal of divinity to the greatest extent. Although the opponent is an evolver, he has just entered not long ago. You can fight boldly." Although he felt that Chen Kai-ongzi's comment was a bit abrupt and had nothing to do with his question, Li Yi still listened to Chen Kai-ongzi patiently and asked, "Instructor, will my slow start time delay the next few rounds of duels? Do you want me to make room for other groups to start first, and when I am almost done, you can notify Zhang Qingjian to start?" "No need, I have just notified Zhang Qingjian to let him train on his own first. The others still have the venue for their rounds, and you can concentrate on starting the Divine Mecha." "Understood." After the report, Li Yi also put down his worries. Chen Kai-ongzi was unexpectedly easy to talk to, and she didn't feel like a strong woman before. In the blink of an eye, 53 minutes passed. The Divine Mechas of other rounds had already gone through many real machine duels. Most people had already passively entered the overload state and ejected the Divine Mecha. Those who completed the duel were watching other mechas fight on the sidelines. There were only a handful of people who had the energy to maintain the fighting state. Therefore, the entire special class, almost 70 people, gathered at Li Yi's fighting field. "Let's see how good this year's newcomer king is. It's interesting." The instructor has an idea and actually arranged a duel between two newcomer kings, evolver versus non-evolver fighting king. Let's see if Li Yi has a chance to create another miracle. The reaction speed of the evolver is far beyond that of the non-evolver. Li Yi can hold on for 3 minutes, which is a top performance. Don't forget, Li Yi is not an ordinary non-evolver. I think he has at least a 30% chance of winning. Haha, 10% is good. The person who said 10% was Zhang Zuqiang. He sneered and was very confident. Amid the discussion, boom, a loud noise was heard. The huge eyes of the Pluto mech, which seemed to hide the coldest hell, slowly opened. The Flame Crow mech on the opposite side, after receiving the advance notice from Chen Kai-ongzi, also happened to start successfully, opened its dark red eyes, and looked at the Pluto mech. In the air, the cold and hot air currents collided quickly, and more than a dozen small whirlwinds with a diameter of 2 or 3 meters rose on the spot. Zhang Qingjian in the cockpit smiled 70 degrees, "You made me wait for so long in vain, so I will give you a big gift first." The next moment, the Flame Crow mech suddenly opened its upper and lower jaws, and in the black hole of the huge mouth, the orange flame flow gathered into a ball, and the temperature soared. In just a moment, everyone standing outside the protective shield felt a thorny burning sensation on their skin. Fuck, it's a divine skill at the beginning. It's so fast to upgrade the genetic skill to a divine skill. The faces of the onlookers, especially those seniors with high rankings and rich experience, suddenly changed. Zhang Qingjian is a very capable guy. It's over. The divine skill has a strong defense-breaking effect. It's almost impossible for Li Yi to win now. Xiaodong's face also fell, and he felt quite regretful. Chapter 36 Knockdown. Just when everyone saw that the battle situation was not favorable to Li Yi. Here, the flame flow from the mouth of the Flame Crow Mecha also condensed in the blink of an eye, like an oversized firework, and shot out directly. At the same time, it instantly increased the brightness of the already bright cabin by dozens of times. Everyone had to squint their eyes and cover their eyes with their hands. Bang! The sphere of the flame flow hit the Pluto Mecha directly, splashing out countless flame flows. Everyone was surprised. This divine skill not only started quickly, but also had an extremely amazing firing rate. Look, the right arm armor of the Pluto Mecha has cracked apart. Everyone looked and found that the thick right arm armor of the Pluto Mecha had indeed cracked, a thin crack of 1 meter wide and 4 or 5 meters long. It stands to reason that this spherical flame flow should explode an elliptical or spherical gap, obtaining a larger damage value. But the current traces, on the contrary, show that the Pluto Mecha did the right thing at a critical moment. Because for the size of the Pluto Mecha, this crack can be regarded as a small scratch. Therefore, everyone's praise and regret were all given to Li Yi. Amazing. Li Yu made a reverse unloading and turning action at the last moment, which minimized the damage of the flame flow. He really deserves to be the new king of fighting. At this distance, the Pluto Mecha can actually stretch out its arm armor to block this attack in a fraction of a second, which shows that Li Yi's reaction speed is not bad. It was a prediction. He probably predicted the opponent's action, but his hand speed couldn't keep up with his shooting speed. It's a pity that Li Yi's response prolonged the duration of this battle. But the result is no longer suspenseful. Indeed, the outcome will be known within 1 minute. It can be considered a glorious loss. Amid the discussion, the Pluto Mecha also began to counterattack. For the Divine Mecha, this crack mainly affects the right arm strength, but it is not serious. Just like a scratch on human skin, it can be repaired by itself if left alone. Normally, as long as it is not seriously damaged, with a divinity inside the Divine Mecha, similar damage can be automatically repaired in 1 night. And there is no trace. For example, Liang Xiaokong's Magnetic Abyss Mecha was also hit by Li Yi yesterday, and cracks appeared on the arm armor. Today, it has been automatically repaired. What the Divine Mecha is really afraid of is continuous defense. Only when there is too much severe damage, it is possible to be completely damaged and cannot be repaired. And, in actual combat, it is necessary to pay attention to the obvious flaws caused by cracks. If the external armor that is originally difficult to break through is targeted, it is easy to suffer 2 or 3 injuries. This is also the most commonly used tactical means of the Divine Mecha in actual combat. That is, use the divine skills to break the defense first and create a breakthrough. Then concentrate the superior force to expand the breakthrough, so that the enemy Mecha is completely destroyed. Therefore, this is also the reason why everyone judged that the Pluto Mecha must lose. Whoever creates the breakthrough first will take the initiative in the battle. The balance was unbalanced from the activation of the divine skills of the Flame Crow Mecha. At this time, the Pluto Mecha ran in front of the Flame Crow Mecha and punched out with his right fist at a very fast speed. In the cockpit of the Flame Crow Mech, Zhang Qingjian grinned. Interesting, did you realize that you will definitely lose and acted in a chaotic manner, or did you deliberately use this injured arm to confuse me? In 5 moves, I will hang you up and beat you. After all, he is an evolver, and his information processing speed is indeed faster than others. In Zhang Qingjian's eyes, the Pluto Mech's fast speed punch was just an ordinary speed and had no threat. The Flame Crow Mech casually turned sideways and then avoided the punch. Then, with a step forward and a turn, it went around to the back of the Pluto Mech, clenched its hands into a hammer posture, and hit the back of the Pluto Mech's head. Huh? The giant object moved quickly and squeezed, forming a violent air shock wave. Off stage, Xingyu couldn't help but close his eyes. Good dodge, not bad. The actions and reactions of both sides are very exciting. The question is, what will Li Yu do next? He is still very dangerous in this state. Xingyu found that the loud sound of metal clashing that he should have heard did not happen, and the comments of the crowd were also a bit strange. So he opened his eyes quickly. He saw that the Pluto Mecha had eyes on its back, and moved its upper body left and right like a pendulum, avoiding the hammer of the Flame Crow Mecha 3 times in a row. The two seemed to touch but did not touch, and the difference was a millimeter, which was amazing. Just before the Flame Flow Mecha gathered its strength and planned to make a fierce move. Suddenly, the Pluto Mecha jumped up on the spot with its back to the Flame Crow Mecha, and its 2 legs flew up and accurately wrapped around the Flame Crow Mecha's neck as if it had eyes, instantly suppressing the Flame Crow Mecha's next move. Then, he twisted his waist and body in midair, directly causing the Flame Crow Mecha to do a half spin and land unbalanced. Then, the huge weight of the Pluto Mecha pressed on the Flame Crow. One arm buckled its waist, and the other arm pressed its shoulders, and the weight of his whole body pressed up, with skilled and swift movements. At the same time, at the moment when the two landed one after another, the whole fighting field also shook violently. Even the people watching the battle were staggering. And this did not affect the shock of the crowd at all. The Mecha can actually use such a delicate and fierce locking technique. Layout. Definitely a layout. Li Yu has been carefully planning this action from the beginning. First, get infinitely close to the Flame Crow Mecha and weaken Zhang Qingjian's reaction speed advantage to the limit. Then through prediction plus familiarity with fighting, avoid the first few attacks of the Flame Crow, wait for it to be in the charging interval, and then use the scissor kick to lock the Flame Crow Mecha in one breath. The most exciting thing is that the Pluto Mecha seized the instantaneous gap when the Flame Crow Mecha was charging, and burst out with all its strength. Putting the important activity nodes of the Flame Crow Mecha under control, Zhang Zuqiang was also a little surprised, with a flash of disbelief in his eyes. After thinking for a while, he said, "It was a guess, definitely a guess." The first few times he dodged, he was definitely half guessing and half gambling, just lucky. Moreover, this method is very effective for human joints, but for the huge power of the Divine Mecha, this block and entanglement technique can quickly break through. It's just a last-ditch struggle. After hearing what Zhang Zuqiang said, someone immediately agreed, Brother Kaiyang makes sense. If the opponent is a non-evolver, Li Yu's move will easily overload the driver. But for an evolver, just a little breath to dissipate the load, and then you can break free in a moment. Amid the discussion, the Pluto Mecha had locked the Flame Flow Mecha for nearly 30 seconds. Everyone stared at the field, thinking in their hearts that the Pluto Mecha should be unable to hold it down soon, right? Suddenly, boom! The Flame Crow Mecha pushed the ground with its legs, and actually stood up vertically with its neck, waist and shoulders locked. Then, he swung his body in place, freed up space with his arms, tore open the legs of the Pluto Mech, grabbed its waist, and threw it to the ground with force. Sure enough, Brother Kaiyang has a strong judgment. Everything is within your expectations. As soon as the incident happened, someone flattered Zhang Zuqiang. Zhang Zuqiang nodded modestly, very pleased. It's nothing. After all, Li Yu is a mech rookie with little experience. It's good to be able to do this. If I were in the same situation to drive the Pluto Mech, Zhang Qingjian would be nothing. Xiaodong looked unhappy and looked down on Zhang Zuqiang from afar. But just when everyone thought that the Flame Crow Mech was about to complete the decisive blow, the Pluto Mech that was thrown off seemed to have expected it. It did not completely break away from the Flame Crow Mech. Instead, it used the force of a fish thrust and at the same time used the huge inertial impulse to superimpose fists to suddenly hit the head of the Flame Crow Mech. Shock skill, superimposed shock. Bang! A huge sound of metal and iron rang out, and the Flame Crow Mecha shook its body as if it had crashed, and then fell to the ground with a bang. Everyone was stunned. How did Li Yu suddenly win? Chapter 37 Swelling. Zhang Zuqiang was speechless for a while. The man who just agreed with him also felt a little swollen on the face. He looked around quickly and found that most people were still in a state of stun thinking about what happened. He was relieved immediately. Xiaodong was surprised, but he was secretly happy. Lin Guotao stood in the corner, with a firm look in his eyes, thinking, that's how it should be. People of the same age who can easily beat me should be brave and diligent, so that I am worth chasing and surpassing. After a while, someone broke the silence first. Is Li Yu's mecha skills so strong? One hook can make the driver who is an evolver faint. Compared with the huge body of the Divine Mecha, the physique of the evolver is of course insignificant in terms of its resistance to blows. But the evolver is always the evolver. As a driver, he can withstand the mecha skills better than the non-evolved. And in everyone's cognition, Li Yu's weak winning rate mainly comes from the maneuvering of fighting skills. As for mecha skills, isn't that a common method used when facing people of the same level? Can it really work if you cross their level? Old Fang, have you ever seen something like this? Can mecha skills really produce such an effect? Someone asked squad leader Fang Tao. Fang Tao pondered, I haven't seen it in Yaochi, but I saw a master in the Deep Space Fleet competition last year. His mecha skills were very powerful. He could knock his opponent into controlled fate in just a few moves. Maybe he can use his skills to complete a cross-level knockout, I understand. Although everyone is the top 10 in Yaochi and the rookie king of each session, they also have talents, but their talents are rarely focused on fighting. Li Yu may be a person whose talents are all focused on fighting. Someone thought about it and thought about the corresponding reasons why Li Yu could win. Aha, is this the reason why his divine mecha starts slowly, because his talent is biased? Someone joked. You've gone off topic. Let's talk about the facts. Li Yu has a high combat quotient and his fighting style is very smart. This allowed him to lure Zhang Qingjian into his carefully planned trap step by step without any advantage. This is the key to his victory. Indeed, Ding Ding's punch with leverage is wonderful, but without all the preparations in the early stage, it is completely useless. That's right, everyone has one or two tricks that can greatly increase the damage, but whether you can use the tricks well is the key. As they talked, some people began to turn their spearheads to Zhang Zuqiang. Old Zhang, you just said that if you were at the same level, you could handle it better. Is that true? I remember that when you were not an evolver 2 years ago, you were always ranked in the 80s or 90s in the special class, right? You were always abused in the non-evolver stage, right? The person who spoke was called Qi Yuqiang. Like Zhang Zuqiang, he was in the top 10 3 years ago and has been in the special class for 3 years. The two have always been at odds with each other, so they didn't give Zhang Zuqiang any face and started to fight directly. Zhang Zuqiang snorted coldly, it's just a trick to win. When it comes to the interstellar battlefield, there is no such thing as luck and coincidence. You have to rely on your strength to beat your opponent. What's so great about beating your colleagues here? Only by beating the alien strongmen can you be respected by all mecha masters. You just flatter Liu because of his unique fighting style. But if this trend continues, it will sooner or later affect all mecha masters, Qi Yuqiang said speechlessly. Well, you have another big head after you put it on one. Anyway, I have said everything to you. It's boring. Why don't you come to a one-on-one duel in the actual machine battle tomorrow? Zhang Zuqiang glared at Qi Yuqiang and turned away. The onlookers laughed. Zhang Zuqiang, this kid, can't even speak tough without Zhang Zuqiang's support. I have disliked this grandson for a long time. The rest of the people laughed heartily, and there were also cold-eyed bystanders. Xiaodong observed the positions of the crowd, combined with the information he had heard before, and thought to himself, most of those who support Liu are from Mars and Jupiter, and the main force who question Liu is from Sirius, which is quite interesting. The actual machine battle is over, and the next is the independent training time. Since Liu's startup speed has not improved, he simply did not turn off the machine and continued to practice on the spot on the fighting field. As we all know, a person's divine radiation reception time has a daily limit. But even if there is no state of stimulating divine radiation, just driving, it can be radiated by the ubiquitous divinity inside. Therefore, it is also good to be able to push the driving time as close to your limit as possible. In the cockpit, Liu exited the meditation state and took a long breath. Sure enough, with a huge load of the mecha all the time, it can indeed boost my memory digestion. He had this guess when he quickly started the Pluto mecha in order to catch up with the finals last time. Now that he has put it into practice, the effect is remarkable. How about not going back to the dormitory and sleeping here overnight? This way, we can capture more memory fragments related to the Pluto mecha. Liu knows his own business. Although he successfully used mecha skills to defeat the Flame Crow mecha driven by the evolver Zhang Qingjian through a series of predictions, layouts, and inductions today. But this is basically his limit at this stage. He still lacks a little to defeat Zhang Zuqiang. Either he must become an evolver, or his fighting skills can be improved. The perfect level of fighting skills should only be the limit of ordinary people's skills, but as the physique improves, more skills can definitely be developed. Maybe, I can wait until everyone else leaves and try to use the skills I discovered last time to stimulate divinity and strengthen my physique. With thoughts flashing in his mind, Liu carefully counted and determined his next improvement plan. After the end of the self-training, the Starship Standard Time has reached 7 p.m. The edge of the fighting field. Xiaodong shouted to the Pluto mech, Liu, how can you still practice? Isn't your activity time just over an hour? Rest early and go eat together, the Pluto mech responded. I have a Class A auxiliary module. I don't even know the current activity time limit. You go eat first. If it's convenient, bring me some. My dormitory is in Building A, room 4308. Thank you. It would be best if you can bring enough for 5 people. Xiaodong was fooled by this wave and was speechless for a long time. Then he gritted his teeth and said, okay. You are really good. In consideration of you teaching Zhang Qingjian a lesson for me, I will bring you dinner for 10 people today. Are you happy? Okay, thank you so much. Don't talk nonsense. Go quickly. Don't go too late or the pre-prepared meals will be taken away. Xiaodong's mouth twitched, and he decided to ignore Liu and turned around and left. Not long after, the entire Area 8 was left with only the Pluto mech parked in place, remaining powered on and standing silently. The huge space seemed to be as quiet as the deep space of the universe at this moment. After a long while, a stream of Pluto's divinity, which seemed to be extremely cold, and extremely cold, slowly released from the body of the Pluto Mecha. Li Yi in the cockpit couldn't help but exclaim, Chen Kai-ongzi's divine Mecha is still in the power-on state? She didn't leave. Li Yi immediately realized that it was Chen Kai-ongzi's operation of eliminating the sense of existence that made him subconsciously ignore Chen Kai-ongzi's existence. It was not until he stimulated the divinity of Pluto that he broke through a certain psychological barrier. At this time, a voice suddenly came, "You are so hidden, you can already stimulate the divinity on your own." Li Yi was startled, and then responded with a smile, "Instructor, you haven't left yet." "Yes, I also need training and improvement. In that case, Instructor, are you interested in practicing a few hands with me and exercising?" Li Yi decisively made an invitation. Chapter 38 Surprise. "Hey, do you want to practice with me?" Chen Kai-ongzi smiled. "Are you feeling arrogant after defeating the Evolver?" Li Yi immediately said, I want you to teach me a few tricks, so that I can also exercise with you. You are quite courageous. Okay, let's exercise together." As soon as he finished speaking, whoosh! A violent gas explosion was heard. Li Yi looked up from the panoramic view of the Pluto Mecha and found that the 72-meter-high gray Mecha had flashed to 200 meters in front of him and stood quietly before the violent gas explosion sounded. He had an indescribable feeling in his heart. It was as if this giant Mecha had been standing there quietly since ancient times, never moving, with a kind of tranquility that had experienced vicissitudes of life. "Let me introduce myself. I'm driving a C-class dust mech from the Wind God sequence, Dust." Li Yi couldn't help but complain in his heart, "Dust mech? This 72-meter-tall thing, Dust, do you think this name is a bit strange?" Li Yi didn't feel embarrassed about being seen through, and replied through the Pluto mech, "Yes, a little bit. Is there any mystery in it? For example, the way the instructor removes the sense of existence is related to the so-called dust." Chen Kai-ongzi in the cockpit was surprised for a moment and smiled. "Although your matching degree with the divine mech is not high, you feel surprisingly sharp. You can feel this, which is a bit against common sense," Li Yi said. "I just made a random guess." In the cockpit, Chen Kai-ongzi turned his wrist and moved his body. "Okay, what do you want me to teach you?" Li Yi looked up at the body of the dust mech, which was half a head taller than the Pluto mech, and fell into deep thought. "It's so big, how to deal with it? Instructor, come on, let's see how long I can last in front of you." "Okay, I'll take the initiative to test the quality of your fighting, Rookie King. As long as you can last for 1 minute, I can personally give you an extra reward." Li Yi's eyes lit up. "Is it a reward of the level of A-level auxiliary module? Just hold on for 1 minute first. Don't worry, I will hold back." As he spoke, the dust mech stretched out an arm that was about the same length as the Pluto mech. Like a machine gun, it quickly ejected and retracted, creating an effect as if 7 or 8 arms were hitting in a row in an instant. This tower-like arm repeatedly rubbed the air, squeezing the airflow, and the violent air explosion sounded like a cannon firing, shaking the dust on the ground. The Pluto mech stared intently, paying attention to the shoulder movements of the dust mech, dodging like a pendulum. In the cockpit, Li Yi's forehead was sweating and the temperature of his head was rising. Chen Kai-ongzi is so fierce. Only in actual combat can you know that the pressure given by the opponent is really great. The level difference is very obvious. The amount of information fed back to his body from the Pluto Mecha was unprecedented. Compared with the information from the Flame Crow Mecha, it was as if the former was a raging ocean and the latter was a narrow stream. It was also thanks to Li Yi's frequent digestion of memory fragments that his mental toughness was high enough to maintain a relatively good dodge state at this moment. Chen Kai-ongzi's face was full of surprise. "Your prediction and load capacity are so strong? You can even dodge the continuous punches at this speed and distance? Then, I'll add some fire to you and see your limit." 11th second. While the Mode Mecha was heading fast with both arms, it suddenly disappeared. Although the pair of arms were fast, they became silent. Even the sound of the gas explosion seemed to disappear. What's more outrageous is that the already subtle movements on its shoulders became more concealed. All this made it several times more difficult for Li Yi to predict its position. In an instant, the Pluto Mecha slowed down, and was hit directly on the shoulder blade by the huge fist of the Mode Mecha, and flew backwards. After flying over 400 meters, she did a 360-degree spin and rolled in the air before she landed. Because she landed in a tight position, The ground was shaken by the huge momentum. Good force release. Chen Kaixi nodded slightly. Although the previous attack successfully hit the Pluto Mecha, it was obvious that the opponent used the active backward flight to release most of the impact force. This perfect skill, even for her who has experienced many battles, can't help but secretly admire. Of course, she can do the same operation. But who is she? The best among the middle-level evolvers. Although she only used a small part of her strength. But that attack was fierce enough. Even when she was a primary evolver, she asked herself that she would never be able to achieve such delicate and precise skills and perfectly release the impact. Moreover, according to the ability he showed before, he is probably close to being overloaded by my rapid and continuous attacks, but now, he still seems to have a little spare strength. It seems that he either has good mental toughness, or he has made progress in these few hours of training, even both. This kid definitely has the potential to become an ace mecha master. The joy in Chen Kaix's eyes became more and more intense. Is the Deep Space Fleet lacking ordinary divine mecha masters? No, it lacks mecha masters with dominant power. There are very few people with such potential. Now, Chen Kaixi confirmed that she had found a reliable alternative. Then, let me thoroughly test your bottom and see where your limit is. She decided to increase the intensity. Originally agreed to hold on for 1 minute. She estimated the time according to the intensity of the battle between Li Yi and Zhang Qingjian, and then increased the difficulty by 20%. Now, she is going to increase the speed by another 20% to see how long Li Yi's mental toughness can last. But at this moment, just as she was lost in thought for a moment and was about to attack, boom! The Pluto Mecha suddenly stimulated its internal divinity, and rays of divine radiation that were invisible to the naked eye and could only be sensed through the divine Mecha were slowly released. The faint presence of the dust Mecha was immediately restored by the rush of the Pluto divinity. At the same time, the Pluto Mecha bent its body, faced the dust Mecha, and launched. In the cockpit, Li Yi kept adjusting his breathing and body state, so that his body was in a state of full blood and high load capacity. This was an explosive skill that he achieved by relying on his control over his own body after his fighting skills reached the perfect level. It can improve physical and mental strength in a short period of time. Entering this state, his control over the Pluto Mecha was unprecedentedly high. He rushed to the dust Mecha in an instant, and then... shock skill, repeated shock. Chen Kaixi witnessed this sudden counterattack, felt the unprecedented power of the opponent, and was shocked. She knew that if she still used the force she had set before, the damage might not be great, but she would be embarrassed. How should she deal with it? The next moment, the two collided. Boom! The Pluto Mecha flew backwards. After landing, it continued to drag on the ground like a rag bag, with sparks and lightning all the way. Chen Kaix's pretty face couldn't help but show a trace of helplessness. She actually didn't control her strength. Li Yi, are you okay? Chen Kaixi asked in the void. Li Yi should be in a state of controlled fainting by now, right? Almost overloaded, this response surprised Chen Kaixi. Why didn't you faint? Falling faint, and woke up again, Li Yi answered. Chapter 39 Combination. What do you mean by fainting and waking up again? Chen Kaixi was stunned. She had just used her full strength in her normal state. Not to mention a beginner, even a newly promoted intermediate evolver would have fainted for several minutes, right? What's more, it was a non-evolver like Li Yi. Li Yi said calmly, the instructor's blow was indeed powerful. I think it must be the Pluto's divinity that protected me at the last moment, otherwise I would have fainted for at least half an hour. He explained the possibility, but in fact, he did faint and wake up again. For others, fainting is equivalent to shock. It is forced to fall into deep sleep of consciousness. For him, there is no essential difference between fainting, dizziness and sleeping. They are all directly entering the dream to capture the memory fragments of the parallel world. There, he is conscious and can enter and exit freely. Similarly, he can wake up at any time. Chen Kaixi really couldn't find a more reasonable explanation, so he could only reluctantly admit it. Okay, the mysterious and wonderful divine mechas are indeed likely to produce many incredible things. You fainted and woke up immediately, which is not against common sense. Li Yi changed the subject and said admiringly, the instructor is really amazing. I couldn't even last 20 seconds. I wonder if I can challenge you again next time? Just when I was blown up just now, I felt that the degree of divine stimulation seemed to have increased a lot. Li Yi's previous explanation was not all lies. He did grasp more of the Pluto's divinity under the pressure of Chen Kai-ongzi's dust mecha. High-intensity mecha combat is indeed useful. He estimated that the reason why the previous battle with Zhang Qingjian did not produce a corresponding effect was mostly because the battle situation was always under his control. Although that guy's hard power exceeded Li Yi, the Flame Crow mecha he controlled was also quite good, and he used the divine skills to create a breakthrough first. But in terms of control and handling of the battle, he was far inferior to Li Yi. Therefore, Li Yi did not feel that he was pushed to the limit at that time. In the moat cockpit, Chen Kai-ongzi blushed slightly when she heard Li Yi's compliment, feeling a little ashamed. She knew that she had not suppressed her strength and that she had won unfairly. But there was no way, and she could not slap herself in the face at this moment. She said lightly, "Well, not being arrogant when winning and not being discouraged when losing are the virtues that a strong person should have. As your instructor, I welcome you to challenge me at any time, but remember, it's okay for you to challenge me across levels in the special class, but if you encounter a strong alien when serving outside, don't rush to challenge across levels, because it will ruin your future." Li Yi got a positive answer and said happily, "Then I'll ask the instructor to give you more guidance in the future. It's getting late, go back and rest as soon as possible. In the future, the difficulty of our daily training will gradually increase. Don't lose sight of one thing while focusing on another. If you can't keep up with the training, I will have to eliminate you. Don't worry, instructor." In the end, Li Yi tested the limit of his activity time under the A-level auxiliary module. 4 hours and 31 minutes. This has exceeded the standard of 3 hours for the middle mecha master. Although this is the function of the auxiliary module, Li Yi estimated that if he took off the A-level auxiliary module, he should be able to move alone for 2 hours. This is his best individual performance so far. As for other aspects, such as divine stimulation, startup speed, and divine skills, they are still shortcomings and are individual performances that need to be focused on in the near future. Go back to the dormitory to have a meal first, and then go back here to sleep. This is the most efficient. Standard time 9 p.m. Li Yi trotted back to the dormitory and found 10 takeaway boxes at the door. He smiled immediately. He thought about it and made a call. "Xiaodong, thank you for the food you brought. Oh my god, you kid can't have practiced until now. Are you awesome? Aren't you tired?" Fortunately, with the blessing of the auxiliary module, I only persisted for 4.5 hours. Oh my god, you kid are showing off to me again, right? It's amazing to have an auxiliary module. I can persist for nearly 2 hours without the auxiliary module. When I become an evolver, I can be active for 3 hours, Xiaodong cursed. Strangely enough, Li Yi and Xiaodong had only known each other for a day, but they were quite like-minded. On the contrary, Liang Xiaokong, who had dealt with him several times before, could never get close to him. After chatting and laughing for a while, Xiaodong asked, "By the way, have you studied the divine radiation combination?" "No, how do you say that? Hasn't that Zhangzuqian been bothering you today?" I was a little concerned, so I logged into the intranet to check and found a mention of a divine radiation combination. Li Yi was interested and entered the dormitory with his lunchbox, saying, "You mean, the more types of divine radiation you receive, the better, within 5, 3 or more is the best ratio?" Xiaodong introduced. This view was shared by the upper mecha master Chen Dongyu in a paid post. He said that the disadvantage of a single divine radiation is that the physique will be single after evolution. If the divine mecha is not upgraded, its own degree of evolution will be limited, and if you receive 3 to 5 kinds of divine radiation, you will have a lot more choices. Although it lacks purity, you have more room for choice, and it can also save time and speed up the evolution. If a person with a single constitution lacks a superior mecha of the corresponding sequence, he can only wait for the new ancient civilization ruins to come out and wait for the opportunity to upgrade. For people with a complex constitution, even if they lack a superior mecha of the same sequence, they can find another sequence to replace it, Li Yi said thoughtfully. In other words, if a person has the divine radiation of the 3 sequences of Vulcan, Wind, and Thunder, when he can choose a new divine mecha, he can choose from these 3. Yes, but I think Chen Dongyu's point of view is mostly to recognize the purity of divine radiation. Xiaodong pondered. After all, the examples he cited are all suggestions when there is no choice. Li Yi nodded. No wonder Zhangzuqiang must have to snatch my Pluto divine radiation rights. That's right, Zhangzuqiang, that bastard, will never give up. He is now equivalent to colliding with your root and delaying his evolution. Don't worry, I have a way. After chatting for a while, Li Yu hung up the call. Inspired by Ke Xiaodong, he decided to log into the intranet to see if there was any useful information. Logging into the intranet is very simple. You only need to identify your personal information and use voice to wake up the dormitory auxiliary AI to access the intranet. Xiaosh classmate, help me search for information related to the disadvantages of the divine radiation combination and the purity of the divine radiation. Please sort by professionalism. Received. Searching. As the voice AI responded, a light screen message popped up in front of Li Yi. The first and second posts were both signed by Chen Donggao, who was certified as a high-level mecha master. They are, the optimal solution of divine radiation combination, pay 1,000 star points to read the brief description, pay 5,000 star points to read the full text and detailed data. The disadvantages and advantages of divine radiation purity, pay 1,000 star points to read the brief description, pay 5,000 star points to read the full text and detailed data. The third post is, advice from a heavenly mecha master, why to maintain the purity of divine radiation, pay 500 star points to read the brief description, pay 3,000 star points to read the full text and detailed data, and the author is Zhou Guangxin, a middle-level mecha master. This title is very attractive to Li Yi, because he really wanted to know whether it was better to preserve the purity or choose a variety of divine radiation. This was related to the choice of future routes, and he couldn't be careless. But after taking a closer look at the post, he was a little hesitant. The author was a mid-level mecha master, but the title was a celestial mecha master? Li Yu thought about it and decided to search for Zhou Guangxin. The data came out quickly. Zhou Guangxin, the current patrol commander of the 73rd Line of the Interstellar Border Defense, the son of celestial mecha master Zhou Tenglong. At that moment, Li Yu no longer hesitated and paid 500 star coins directly to view the brief description. Chapter 40 Share. Brief description. Human beings receiving divine radiation is essentially a process of optimizing genes, renewing cells, and regenerating the body. A divine sequence is a kind of directional optimization. Receiving divine radiation of different sequences is essentially interfering with gene optimization. In the short term, before advancing to the heavenly evolver, using compound sequence divine radiation will give people an illusion of rapid progress, because this solves the problem of insufficient time for single divine radiation. In fact, before reaching the heavenly rank, you will definitely be stuck and unable to continue to advance, because if you want to become a heavenly evolver, you must have enough divine genes to evoke the deep resonance of the divine mecha, and people who have received compound sequence divine radiation have a lot of divine genes in their bodies, but there are too many types, which squeeze out the share, which will inevitably lead to insufficient single divine genes, and thus unable to evoke the deep resonance of the divine mecha. Unless people who have received compound sequence divine radiation are willing to be stuck in the upper evolutionary stage for 70 to 80 years to get enough single divine genes. It ends here. The content displayed later is detailed argumentation and data. Please pay 3,000 star coins to confirm. Li Yu thought about it and decided to pay and continue to check the argument information. After all, this is about future choices, so he should be cautious. Besides, he just earned 1 million star coins, so he can still afford this money. 10 minutes later, Li Yu leaned back and relaxed his body posture a little. The specific content and data of the post kept flashing in his mind, and he fell into long thinking. The argument and data are detailed enough, and there are also follow-up experimental records of previous generations. Basically, the conclusion of the post is correct. In other words, it is not that you cannot receive multiple divine radiations, but that multiple divine radiations will squeeze the share of divine genes, causing the advancement to the heavenly position to be stuck. If this theory is correct, then why are the first and second posts both posts that talk about the advantages of compound divine radiation? Li Yu clicked on it to check the comment information under Chen Donggayu's post. Thank you for sharing. The viewpoint is very novel and useful. I'd like to add a post to illustrate a cruel fact. 90% of the mecha masters in the Deep Space Fleet cannot match a D-level superior mecha after matching their first low-level L-level divine mecha, even if they become evolvers. Therefore, if there is no way to match a D-level superior mecha, it means that you must upgrade your own mecha, or try to replace the divine radiation time yourself. I'd like to add another post to illustrate an even crueler fact. There are fewer and fewer undeveloped relics of ancient civilizations in the star field ruled by the Xingyu Federation, and most people are not lucky enough to encounter such a relic during the voyage to promote the upgrade of their divine mecha. What the above said is very right. I have personal experience. After I became a primary evolver, I failed when matching a new D-level divine mecha, and had to be stuck at the primary limit for more than 10 years before I finally relied on other divine radiations to advance to the middle level. I advise everyone that the heavenly level is rare. If you don't have enough talent, don't be fanciful. It's also good to become a superior evolver honestly. Liu flipped through the comments one after another and found that there were quite a few comments showing anxiety. Sure enough, some people don't want to maintain the purity of divine radiation, but have to do so. By the way, what determines a person's divine gene share? Liu thought about it and asked AI to help search what the divine gene share was related to. There were not many paid posts this time. The conclusions were basically the same. That is, the divine gene share is related to mental strength. The higher the strength, the more divine gene shares can be born. This discovery surprised Li Yi. Unlike others, his mental strength can continue to improve with the feeding of memory fragments. In other words, compared to others, I may not be unable to receive multiple sequences of divine radiation. However, considering the energy investment in the early stage and the risk issues in the later stage, it is better to focus on improving the divine radiation of the Pluto Mecha first. For the rest, learn more and then make a decision. While thinking, Liu temporarily decided on the direction of improvement in the near future. Then he returned to the cockpit of the Pluto Mecha, meditated, fell asleep, and captured memories. The next day. Damn, you slept in the cockpit of the Pluto Mecha for a whole night. Xiaodong stood in front of Li Yi, dumbfounded. You are too arrogant, aren't you? It's okay, mainly because I'm not used to the soft bed in the dormitory. You know, I'm from a poor family and I'm used to sleeping on a hard bed, Li Yi said casually. Okay, I can barely accept your reason. However, you are a noble mecha master now. It's not bad to enjoy your level 2 authority appropriately. As far as I know, there are only more than 30 level 2 authorities in our entire special class. You have to use them well. Xiaodong looked envious. Only 30 people with level 2 authority. Liu was a little surprised. Xiaodong explained, it's actually very easy to understand. Only one rookie king can get level 2 authority every year, and even if the old man becomes an evolver, if he has not obtained the qualification of a primary mecha master, he can only have level 1 authority. Liu nodded slightly. It's my fault that I didn't understand it clearly yesterday. In fact, as a person with level 2 authority, you have a free quota of high-energy alien meat. That is to say, after the training, you can take it openly without competing with other evolvers. Xiaodong became excited. Moreover, your quota also has a free purchase limit of up to 10. How about I give you 30,000 star coins and you buy me one more? Liu was a little surprised. 30,000 for a portion of meat. This thing is so expensive. After all, this thing is very rare, and it is very helpful for us to digest the divine radiation. 10,000 is the purchase price, and 20,000 is the quota fee for you. How about it? Are you satisfied with this price? At this point, Xiaodong looked at Liu nervously. Liu shook his head and said, I don't accept this price. Xiaodong was a little disappointed, but he immediately calmed down and said, did I give you too little? Sorry, this is the maximum amount the family has given me. No, I can only charge you 20,000. But I'm giving you a discount because I hope you can do something for me in the near future. Xiaodong was refreshed. What is it? Help me investigate Zhang Zuqiang, as well as the background, ability, and relevant performance information of the top 35 people in the class. Of course, the focus is on Zhang Zuqiang, and the others are incidental. Xiaodong was shocked. This kid Liu is going to cause trouble. He immediately patted his chest and promised, okay, I'll take care of this job. After a while, everyone arrived one after another. Chen Kaiongzi arrived at the designated spot, looked around at everyone, and said in a deep voice, due to some force majeure, from today on, I have decided to increase the intensity of training, and the gravity intensity will be increased by 2 times for each person. Later on, it will be multiplied. Please be mentally prepared. If you can't keep up, you will be eliminated at any time. Feng Tao led the team to warm up. Everyone can see that Chen Kaiongzi's face is terribly dark today. Such a beautiful face, but it instantly silenced the entire special class. Who offended Chen Kaiongzi? Liu muttered in his heart, it should have nothing to do with last night, right? Chapter 41 Elimination. Huh? The gravity difficulty has suddenly increased, and it's still a little hard to adapt to. After finishing a set of shuttle runs, Xingyu let out a long sigh, and sweat began to form on his forehead. 20 minutes had passed since the gravity training began, and some people had already been carried away by robots because they could not bear the gravity. Liu did not speak and continued to train in the shuttle runs. If you do not participate after the time limit, you will be severely warned by Chen Kaiyongzi. Today, Chen Kaiyongzi's temper seemed to be more dangerous than her period, and she would yell at those who slowed down. Xingyu, you are already 2 seconds slower than the last set of shuttle runs. Run. Only by squeezing your body to the limit can it be easier to absorb high-energy nutrients and divine radiation. Every bit of your slackness today will be blood and tears on the battlefield in the future. Chen Kaiyongzi completely lost her beauty and roared continuously. Liang Xiaokong, what are you doing with your lukewarm look? If you don't want to practice, get out. This continued for 5 rounds of gravity training, and a morning of hell time was finally over. During each round, you can enjoy the nutrition cabin for a short time, but after the break, you will be greeted by a higher gravity multiple. Although the amount added in each round is not much, it is higher than before. And yesterday, you could only practice 3 rounds in the morning. Today, because the multiple was increased and the time was shortened, there were 2 more rounds of training. When the morning content was completely finished, even Liu couldn't help but walk with the help of the wall. When gathering, most people looked exhausted. Chen Kaiyongzi stood in front of the queue and said slowly, today, the gravity difficulty was increased. Some people performed well and persisted to the end of each round. Unfortunately, there are still some people who leave early in each round, and earlier. Why? Do you think that you are old and come from the upper power family, so you won't be eliminated, or is it that the physical potential is insufficient and it is difficult to cultivate? Everyone was silent. Liang Xiaokong, Mo Yaoxi, you two don't have to come today. When this was said, everyone was a little surprised. Because these 2 people are actually from the upper power family. Although Liu didn't know Mo Yaoxi, he could roughly tell from his appearance and accent that he was from a satellite of Jupiter. Liang Xiaoquang narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, Instructor, although I did not persist to the end of each round, I also tried my best and did not deliberately slack off. Why should I be eliminated? On the other side, Mo Yaoxi said dissatisfiedly, I also need a reasonable explanation. Why didn't he get eliminated when there were other people who left earlier, but I was eliminated instead? Chen Kaiyongzi shook his head gently and said, because you two didn't try your best, that's all. I believe you can all judge the basis for the AI to allocate gravity multiples. The more you challenge your limits, the higher the gravity multiples allocated by the AI will be, thereby creating a positive cycle of draining effect in this short period of training. Only in this way can we get as much progress as possible. Of course, other people also held back a little in the process. But as a whole they are improving their limits. Only the 2 of you have a slow increase in multiples. I've made it clear in advance. If you can't keep up, you will be eliminated. Any other opinions? If not, get out of here quickly. With the last sentence, Chen Kaiyongzi suddenly burst out with an unprecedented imposing aura. Liang Xiaoquang had nothing to say and left the scene sadly. Mo Yaoxi, on the other hand, was unhappy and walked away with big strides. Canteen. Tell me, why is the instructor so much more aggressive today than yesterday? As far as I know, the instructor has never been so irritable in the past few years of teaching. Xingyu held the plate with a look of fear on his face. Because he also held back from time to time during the training. Fortunately, someone took the blame today, otherwise he suspected that he would also be killed, and his level 1 authority would be directly reduced to nothing. Liu shook his head and said, I guess it may be related to some policies within the ship, or new trends outside. Unfortunately, I just found time to check the internal network, but I didn't see any special news. Maybe the upper power family did something, and the news hasn't been announced yet. Xingyu pondered. After all, the upper power family is the most privileged in the starship. Liu was surprised and said, aren't you also a power family? Bullshit, I'm just an ordinary lower power family, and I'm the kind that is about to decline and can no longer train mecha masters. If it weren't for the fact that my family business is doing well, how can I have the funds to support me to become a mecha master? Xingyu said speechlessly. While talking, the 2 separated. Liu went to the window of high-energy alien meat to queue up for the meal. Xingyu went to pack the pre-made meal. It was also strange that when Liu came to the queue of high-energy alien meat, He found that the dozens of people in this row were actually evolvers. Someone noticed that Li Yi was standing behind him and felt that the atmosphere was not right. He immediately turned his head and said, "Hey, newcomer, do you understand the rules? This is the window for high-energy alien meat. If you are not an evolver, you are not qualified to come here to queue up. Do you understand? I am a level 2 authority, but it is not allowed," Li Yi said in surprise. Level 2 authority is allowed, but you can only queue up behind all the evolvers. Understand? As he was speaking, the man realized something and turned around to see that it was Li Yi. His face changed slightly. So it was Li Yi who defeated Zhang Qingjin as a non-evolver. "Since it is you, you can queue up in front of me." The man quickly changed to kind expression and gestured for Li Yi to stand forward. "Is this appropriate?" "Of course, you are now ranked 42nd and I am ranked 45th. Since you are ranked higher than me, you can queue up in front of me. This is the rule." "Okay, then I won't be polite." Li Yi calmly stepped forward a few steps. The queue was very efficient. Li Yi quickly received a free quota and purchased 2. The high-energy alien meat is like a piece of tofu, crystal clear, fragrant, and very appetizing. One bite, it melts directly and flows into the esophagus. Instantly, the feeling of fullness permeates the whole body, which is more comfortable than staying in the nutrition cabin for more than 10 minutes. Fuck, it's so refreshing. I feel energetic for the afternoon training now. After Xiaodong swallowed it, his face was instantly filled with happiness. Li Yi also had to admit that this thing is really good. Just by eating a piece, you can feel all the fatigue from the morning training disappear instantly. No wonder those evolvers are scrambling for it, Li Yi sighed. It seems that this second-level authority is really worth it. With this thing, the training effect should be able to reach a higher level. As he said, he ate the second piece. The effect of this piece was not as outstanding as the first one, but it also made Li Yi feel much stronger. Xiaodong sighed. Level 2 authority is great. When can I have level 2 authority? You need to ask the instructor. By the way, I have sent the information you asked me to look up yesterday to your newsletter. Remember to check it. Okay, thank you for your help. Isn't tomorrow the deadline Zhang Zuqian gave you? What are you going to do? Keep it secret for now. After finishing lunch and taking a short break, the afternoon training began again. As usual, the afternoon content is to learn mecha skills in virtual reality first, and then start real machine training. Li Yi entered the virtual reality skillfully. Training assistant Xiaoqi welcomes you. Please choose whether to continue to challenge the hidden task, or choose to postpone it temporarily. Li Yi chose to postpone it. The Zhen character skill and its derivative skill Dai Zhen that he learned yesterday helped him a lot. According to the subsequent challenge rhythm, he should be able to learn more and more sophisticated skills. But he had already used up the opportunity to challenge the 4th level twice last time, and there were 2 left. It has only been a day, and he still has no confidence to complete this level. So, he plans to learn some other mecha skills first, and then challenge the 4th level in the last half hour. Okay, you chose to postpone. Now, according to the original teaching plan, I will teach you new basic mecha skills, Guanzi skills. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Absolute Fluid. As AI Xiaoqi finished his explanation, a skeleton mecha with a thin body and long limbs appeared in front of the Pluto mecha. The skeleton mecha began to practice its movements. Its body moved left and right, coordinating its steps, and the strength of its shoulders, arms, elbows, and wrists was consistent. Every time it punched in the air, it could cause a violent scream. The scream was so harsh, like sandpaper rubbing repeatedly on the eardrum. Li Yi stared at it intently from the panoramic view of the Pluto mecha. Interesting, the so-called Guan skill is actually the mecha skill version of the stabbing and piercing actions in combat. However, when it is reflected on the giant mecha, the destructive power formed by the huge pressure condensed into one point is even more amazing. In actual combat, if the mecha's head is hit with a Guan skill, the driver will be injured with a high probability of impact injury. The Zhen skill transmits high-frequency shock force to stun the driver. The Guan skill transmits highly concentrated penetrating force, which will cause more direct damage to the driver. The former is more harmful to the spirit and brain, while the latter is more harmful to the body. Li Yu quickly understood the principle and began to practice. The first practice. He moved his body, encouraged the body power of the Pluto Mecha, and condensed it into one, and sent out a scream that shook several kilometers. The second practice. He made a slight adjustment, added his own understanding, and sent out a large-scale scream that was enough to make ordinary people dizzy and swollen, and the sound transmission range was reduced to 1 kilometer. The third practice. He adjusted again, without much starting action, and started with a high-frequency sound wave that exceeded the limit of human hearing, reducing the sound volume transmission range to within 300 meters. It's done. After this fight, Li Yu's eyes brightened. At this time, Ai's voice also sounded at the right time. Congratulations, the essence of the Guanzi skill is to maintain the power and be highly concentrated. You have once again broken the fastest mastering record of the Guanzi skill, and mastered the activation method without redundant actions by yourself, which is amazing. Li Yu waited for a while, and found that Ai's did not continue to speak, and immediately said with regret, "Didn't breaking the record this time trigger the hidden training task related to the Guanzi skill?" "Sorry, no," Ai's explained, "because although the Guanzi skill is a basic mecha skill, no relevant personnel have developed derivative techniques, and the non-redundant activation you currently master is already the best and fastest way to start, so, you can now choose to learn new basic mecha skills. Or choose to enter the training tasks left by the 4th generation instructors." Li Yu thought about it, and simply said, "In this case, you arrange for me to learn new basic mecha skills. Okay, now I'll arrange it for you." The sticky word skill. This move can effectively defend against various mecha skills, and even defend against divine skills that are more physical attacks. Please study it carefully. Chen Kaiyongzi sat in the control room of the virtual reality, watching the full screen to check the learning status of others. Most people on the screen could not quickly master the Zhen skill in a very short time. They could only passively enter the virtual mecha battle and be beaten by the virtual mecha summoned by Ai's. Some Quan people had learned the Zhen skill themselves. But as long as the foundation was not solid, Ai's would judge that they needed to be tempered in actual combat. Therefore, they were also madly targeted by the virtual mecha and suffered terribly. Only a very small number of people quickly mastered the Zhen skill in the virtual mecha battle and entered the study of the Guan skill. Looking at the performance of the whole class, Chen Kaiyongzi couldn't help but secretly shook his head. Sure enough, compared with a previous generation, I still lack a lot of training. Many people may not be bad in talent, but when they encounter difficulties, they will subconsciously choose the easy mode. In comparison, it is Li Yu who easily learned mecha skills. Even Ai's determined that there is no need for virtual combat and can directly learn new content, but relying on Li Yi, a non-evolver, is useless. Could it be that Class 3 will be the last in the competition this year, just as Chen Kaiyongzi was lost in thought? With a click, the door slid open automatically and a person walked in. "Oh, are you busy? I heard that your class has a non-evolver who can beat the evolvers. It seems that the momentum is not bad." This man is 2 meters tall, with a rough face, a hooked nose, a stubble beard, and casual clothes. He is full of momentum, quite like a mighty ancient general. Chen Kaiyongzi was busy watching the surveillance. Hearing this, he glanced at the other party casually and said in a flat tone, "Liang Zhishan, what are you doing here? Are you looking for trouble for Liang Xiaokong? That bastard has nothing to do with me. Although my last name is Liang, I am not familiar with the main family," Liang Zhishan said with a smile. "Something happened with the ancient civilization ruins, and the list of personnel has been reduced, so I came to you to test the waters and see if you can give us a few more places." "Oh, are you looking for a fight?" Chen Kaiyongzi's face immediately sank. "Who are you, Class 2? How dare you come to take our class's quota? This is not a discussion. Anyway, your class was in the limelight last year, and the good seedlings all have their own prospects and will graduate directly. There are no masters this year, so it should be our turn, right?" Chen Kaiyongzi spit out one word, "Get out." "Okay, if you don't agree, then I will wait for Class 3 to compete and take your quota openly." "Okay, if these people are not as skilled as others, then I have nothing to say." Chen Kaiyongzi nodded. "Hey, you, let's discuss it properly. It will save face for our 2 classes, right?" "Discuss it properly." Chen Kaiyongzi raised her head, her almond eyes suddenly burst into amazing colors, and she said sternly, "If you are not strict now, when these new recruits go to the battlefield in the future, you will be waiting to attend their funerals. The interstellar border has been relatively peaceful in the past 10 years. Don't talk nonsense and shake the morale of the army. Get lost. Liang Zishan was so angry at Chen Kaionzi's cold attitude that he muttered a few words and walked away in disgrace. After leaving the monitoring room, Liang Zhi took a deep breath, and he couldn't help but have some self-doubt in his heart, thinking to himself, thinking carefully, Chen Kaionzi's scolding may not be wrong. She has been training soldiers hard for these years, and the effect is remarkable, but I have unconsciously relaxed after the Xianheng Star War 12 years ago. If something unexpected happens later, the soldiers I lead will not be really finished, right? Aiziachi didn't know why, and it was stuck for a long time. After a while, Aiziachi said intermittently, "Congratulations, you have once again broken the fastest mastering record of the sticky word skill, triggering the hidden training task left by the first-generation instructor Tu Zhanayu. Do you want to accept it?" Li Yu's eyes lit up slightly. Not bad. It seems that the explosion rate of this hidden training task is quite high. Moreover, why is Aiziachi so stuck in this hidden training task? Is it because the amount of information is too large? After thinking about it, Li Yu decided to take the task first. Except, okay, if you clear all the hidden training tasks in this time, there is a certain probability of mastering the divine skills. It is absolutely fluid. Please participate attentively, but I don't plan to participate in the hidden training immediately. Can I choose to postpone it? Sure, please continue to arrange new basic mecha skills for me to learn. Li Yu plans to clear all the basic mecha skills in one go, and then challenge the hidden training one by one. This is the most efficient way, and it can also consolidate the foundation and increase the clearance rate during hidden training. After all, the number of challenges is limited. If you use up all the challenges and waste a good skill, it will be a waste. Okay, I'll arrange for you to learn the spin skill now. The spin skill is both offensive and defensive. When combined with any other mecha skill, it can exert great power. Please study hard. Chapter 43 Breaking the Limit. Congratulations, you have once again mastered this one character skill perfectly at a breakthrough speed, which really shocked Zaichi. Aiziachi's voice sounded with emotion. This was the first time Li Yu heard Aiziachi show such emotion. Before, although Aiziachi's voice was pleasant, it still sounded stiff and mechanical. Li Yu waited for a while, and felt regretful again, and said, "It seems that the hidden training was not triggered this time." "Yes, do you want to choose to enter the hidden training task that was triggered before, or choose to learn new basic mecha skills?" Li Yu was a little surprised. What else? There are so many mecha skills, and Aiziachi actually used the word "you" this time. Is it because I broke the record continuously that AI is not calm anymore? Yes, but this is indeed the last basic item. Do you want to arrange to learn it? Yes, arrange it quickly. Okay, I'll arrange it for you right away. The breaking skill. Although the breaking skill is a mecha skill, it also has the effect of breaking armor. It is the most complex and most practical mecha basic skill. Please study it carefully. Just as everyone was immersed in the virtual reality training, Chen Kaionzi's voice suddenly came from the public channel. Due to some accidents, this instructor will have to be absent from the subsequent training in the afternoon. Now extend your virtual reality training time to the end of today's training. The training will proceed normally the next day. Everyone is informed. As soon as this was said, a bunch of people cursed. There was no way. The opponents arranged in the virtual reality were too strong and focused on weaknesses. They repeatedly launched the shocking skill to stun the trainees from a distance and then forced them to wake up. After the whole process, although some people have gradually adapted, but they still can't stand it. After all, adaptation is one thing, and being unwilling is another. Li Yu was fine. Anyway, he was the one who abused the opponent in the virtual reality. However, this time, the word breaking skill did take him a long time. It took him a full 10 minutes. When he controlled the Pluto Mecha and punched the target in front of him, directly causing the huge material that was as hard as the core of a planet to crack. The slightly trembling voice of Aiziachi came, "Congratulations on mastering the word breaking skill again at a breakthrough speed and hitting the cracking special effect. You have triggered the hidden training task again. This hidden training task is set by the second generation instructor Zhuang Keishan. If you pass all the levels, you will have a chance to master the divine skill." Keishan, did you? I didn't expect that the record could be broken in 10 minutes, Li Yu sighed, and then said, "Accept it, and then postpone it." Got it. In response to your question, I can actually tell you that in the past records of Yaochi, The fastest learning speed of the word-breaking skill also takes 1.5 days, so, your mecha skill learning speed is the well-deserved record king of Yaochi. Li Yu also sighed in his heart. It seems that the efforts to concentrate on obtaining fighting memory fragments in recent years have not been in vain. Practicing such a skill to perfection also helped him reach a level beyond the scope of his understanding in the field of fighting. However, he suddenly thought of a question. You said I am the king of records. If no one can break my record in the future, won't these hidden training tasks be triggered? In theory, yes, Aizayachi said, but if no one triggers it for 10 years, the system will spontaneously adjust the mechanism to reduce the difficulty of triggering. After all, this is a unique skill of you humans. If the inheritance is interrupted, it would be a pity. Li Yu nodded. Understood. Now please help me open the hidden training task of the Gen character skill. I have now completed the basics of mecha skills, and it should be no problem to clear the 4th level. Okay, I'll open it for you now. Without Chen Kaiyongzi's control, after the time set in the virtual reality ended, everyone, no matter how hard or tired they were, was like a wild horse running wild. On the seats in the virtual reality, someone had already jumped on the seat and shouted wantonly. Swish, the helmet automatically popped open, and Li Yi opened his eyes, slightly adapting to the changes between reality and virtuality. Beside him, Keiziadong's face was still ugly, but it looked much better than last time. Have you mastered the Gen skill yet? Li Yi asked. No, Aizayachi told me that it's still a little short of perfection, and I need to experience it more in actual combat. Keiziadong looked tired and wise. It's okay, I feel that another wave tomorrow will be enough. After all, I still have a basic foundation. Then I wish you a successful tomorrow. Li Yi stood up and was about to go to the cafeteria. At this time, a familiar voice came from behind. It seems that you have adapted well these 2 days. Is this voice Lin Guotao? Li Yi turned around and saw that it was indeed him. He smiled and said, how come you have time to come here? I just have time to talk to you about what I mentioned last time. Follow me. As he said that, Lin Guotao stood up and walked towards the door of the closed venue. Li Yi asked Keiziadong to solve his dinner by himself, and then chased after him. Leaving the closed training hall, Lin Guotao stared at Li Yi and said, I was originally planning to come back in a month, but something happened recently, so I had to come early. I was a little worried that you hadn't adapted yet, but now that I see your condition, I know that you have completely adapted to Chen Kaiyongzi's training rhythm and have improved significantly. For example, is your physical fitness now a little stronger than the last time you competed? Li Yi felt a little strange. After 2 days of gravity training and high-intensity nutritional supplements, his physical fitness has indeed improved a lot. But this is a normal rhythm. Why do you want to emphasize it? Are you curious about why I specifically mentioned this? Lin Guotao said. Li Yi nodded. It's very simple. I want to wake you up. You have broken the limit of your body. Li Yi was stunned. Don't you say that you must receive enough divine radiation to break the limit of the human body and embark on the road of evolution? Theoretically, this is correct. Lin Guotao nodded. But if someone can practice martial arts to perfection, possess extremely strong self-control, and combine it with sufficient high-energy nutrition, there is a chance to break the human body's limit. As he said this, Lin Guotao stretched out 2 fingers, and in your case, you have one more chance to break the limit than ordinary people, that is. After breaking the human body's limit on your own, you can also use divine radiation to break the secondary limit. Li Yi still had some doubts. Does this count as breaking the human body's limit? That's not right. Although I have improved, it doesn't feel earth-shaking. No, you have to know that you have already reached the peak of a non-evolved person. Theoretically, it is impossible to continue to improve your physical fitness before becoming an evolver. Li Yi nodded slightly. This statement seemed to make sense. He previously thought that he could improve purely because of the supplementation of high-energy nutrition. But from another perspective, Lin Guotao's statement might be right. Breaking one layer of shackles only solves the bottleneck that previously suppressed the progress of the physical body, but to achieve a complete transformation, you have to continue practicing, so you still have a lot of room for improvement, until you reach the next bottleneck, or receive enough divine radiation. You will encounter the problem of breaking the limit for the second time. Lin Guotao continued, because you have broken the first layer of limits, I can now explain the confidential plan to you. Confidential plan? Yes, the God Mecha plan. In the closed training ground, Keiziadong was packing up and preparing to leave. At this time, Zhang Zuqiang and another tall man came in front of Ke Xiaodong. Boy, you have been getting along well with Li Yi recently. Where did he go? Ke Xiaodong frowned and said, what are you going to do? Chapter 44 Xian Project. No, we don't want to do anything, we just want to exchange divine radiation time with you. The tall man next to Zhang Zuqiang smiled faintly. No need, my current stimulation time is just enough. Ke Xiaodong flatly refused and stood up to leave. The man directly stretched out his hand to block Ke Xiaodong's way. Don't worry, while the instructor is not here today, let's play a few hands on the real machine? Whoever wins will take the other's 2 minutes of divine radiation time every day. How about it? These two bastards are not here with good intentions. Ke Xiaodong said dissatisfiedly. Jin Shengyu, you are ranked 49th and I am ranked 55th. According to the tradition of Mecha division, only the weak can challenge the strong. What do you want to do? Besides, do you still want to do it here? The surveillance here is everywhere. Jin Shengyu smiled faintly. No, within the top 10, the upper and lower can challenge each other. This is the tradition of the special class. You are a newcomer, I can forgive your ignorance, Ke Xiaodong, since it is a tradition, I have no choice, but I still don't accept your invitation. Really? You are not talented, your ability is not outstanding, and your family strength is average. Do you really dare to offend our Zhang and Jin families? Jin Shengyu said with a proud look on his face. If you are willing to exchange for divine radiation time, I can also use 1 minute to exchange your 2 minutes. If you are so ignorant of the times, then even if you beg me to give me this divine radiation time, I may not be willing to take it. Have you really thought it through? Ke Xiaodong said disdainfully, so what if I offend you? This is Special Selection Class 3, the territory under the protection of Instructor Chen. She makes the rules, not you. You are just two middle-level powerful families. Aren't you just relying on the fact that your elders are still serving on the ship? Even so, can you get into the Special Selection Class? With that said, Ke Xiaodong was full of toughness. He left the two of them and walked away. Jin Shengyu's face was gloomy. Brother Kayang, he was not scared. This guy has investigated us. Otherwise, he would not have known our details as soon as we met. Zhang Zuqiang snorted. It seems that I was too gentle with Li Yi yesterday, giving these two people the illusion that they can easily deal with me. Since he is so tough, I don't have to show mercy anymore. Brother Kayang, what are you going to do? I roughly know the logic of Chen Kaiongzi's annual actual combat arrangements. The ranking difference between you and Ke Xiaodong is within 6, which means that you will most likely arrange a real machine duel within 6 days. When the time comes, I want you to directly destroy his divine mecha, and it would be best if you can directly make him retire with injuries. Won't it be easy to control him when he can no longer continue training in the special class? Jin Shengyu nodded and said, Brother Kayang's arrangement is very good, and I am very convinced. However, I am only 6 places higher than him in the ranking, and I don't have a real grasp of inflicting heavy damage to Ke Xiaodong. Don't worry, I've investigated Ke Xiaodong's past combat videos and know his weaknesses and attack habits. I'll tell you in detail. By then, with your own hard power that's stronger than his, won't it be easy to capture him? Zhang Zuqiang said with a faint smile. Brother Kayang is awesome. What about Li Yi? Deal with Ke Xiaodong first and teach him a lesson. If he still doesn't surrender, I'll look for someone else to fight him in a real battle. Brother Kayang, excuse me, do we really want to offend the strongest rookie king in history to death? I didn't want to cause trouble, but he stole my Pluto mecha. My life is limited and I can't waste any time. Zhang Zuqiang glanced at Jin Shengyu indifferently. If you don't want to get involved in this, I can understand, and you can also quit. Jin Shengyu immediately laughed awkwardly. Brother Kayang, you are joking. Of course I don't have this idea. The God Mecha project? It sounds amazing, not amazing, but top-notch amazing. As he spoke, Lin Guotao's eyes revealed an unprecedented fascinating brilliance. This is a plan that can make you the strongest Mecha master and the strongest human. Is he bragging so much? Li Yi's scalp tingled. The last time he heard such outrageous words was the last time. Sir, continue. I'm listening. Lin Guotao saw that Li Yi didn't believe it, but he didn't care. Don't think it's impossible. In fact, this is a theory that has been proven to be possible after multiple demonstrations. At present, more than 30 Mecha divisions in the entire Deep Space Fleet have participated in this plan. Our Yaochi also had 2 participants before. They are currently stationed at the 45th interstellar border to suppress one side, but without exception, those who were selected to participate in this plan have become well-deserved strong men and the pillars of mankind. The combat power is also 10 times, dozens of times, or even higher than that of mecha divisions of the same level. Zhang Shengfeng, have you heard of this person? He is the beneficiary of the Xianshin Mecha plan. He is also a participant in the Xianshin Mecha plan. Li Yu has really heard of this name. He debuted at the age of 20. After a few years of experience, he shined in a galaxy-level war at the age of 25 and killed hundreds of superior alien mecha divisions. At the age of 32, he guarded the restricted area of the Star Ring and killed 5 alien mecha masters of the heavenly rank by himself, and his reputation spread far and wide. May I tell you that Zhang Shengfeng has broken through to the heavenly rank and is currently one of the top 10 strongest men in our Xingyu Federation. Now, even if he does not control the divine mecha, he can easily break the 100-meter class mecha with his flesh and blood. Do you think this god mecha plan is the strongest plan? Hiss. Li Yu took a long breath and said with emotion, what the commander said really makes me yearn for it. Seeing Li Yu's performance, Lin Guotao was certain in his heart and smiled slightly. Then, let me introduce you to the content of the god plan. Please speak, Commander. You should have learned about the advantages and disadvantages of the combination and purity of divine radiation recently, right? Li Yu nodded, and became more and more curious. Does the strongest plan need to make a fuss about divine radiation? Very good, then I will say it briefly. If you want to enter the heavenly rank, the best choice is to maintain the purity of the divine radiation. With Pluto, a divine mecha with a potential of at least A level, you have a better chance of entering the heavenly rank than others. But if your goal is not just the heavenly rank, but above the heavenly rank, then, my suggestion is that you'd better plan the sequence combination of your divine radiation. Li Yu couldn't help asking, what I learned before is that if there are too many different sequences of divine radiation, it will affect the share of divine genes, and then get stuck before the heavenly rank. Yes, there's nothing wrong with what you learned. Lin Guotao smiled and said, it's just that we have a way to increase the strength of the soul and increase the share of divine genes. In other words, using this method, you can completely collect divine radiation of different sequences, so that you have a larger number and a more complete group of divine genes. Li Yu suddenly realized that this coincided with his subsequent ideas. Commander, what you mean is that the proportion of divine radiation of different sequences must be planned so that you can continue to be promoted after the heavenly rank. That's right. So, what is the method of increasing the strength of the soul that the commander mentioned? Is it suitable for me, and what sequence combination is the best combination? Chapter 45 Risk. This method is both simple and not simple. The key is the thought steel pillar that comes from the remains of ancient civilization. Its characteristics are spiritual aggregation and thought implantation, although we have always used it as an auxiliary device for thought steel stamping. In fact, its characteristics can also be used to improve the mental strength of human beings. Lin Guotao pondered, the most common method is that you only need to carry it with you and visualize it at all times, and you can use the characteristics of spiritual aggregation to polish your mind. If you persist, your mental strength will naturally increase. Thought steel pillar. Li Yu didn't expect that after going around in circles, he would actually involve this thing. He has experienced the power of the thought steel pillar and knows how powerful it is. If you want to carry it with you, it's okay for a short time, but if it lasts for a long time, it will definitely be easily affected, right? Sir, this method should be quite risky, right? That's right, so it's only suitable for people with strong will. Anyone with a weak will inevitably be disturbed by the thought steel pillar, and even distort their personal will. This is also one of the reasons why I chose you. I've been on the Yaoqi for so many years, and this is the first time I've seen someone who can resist the thought steel stamp at will, and it takes the thought steel pillar 3 hours to successfully stamp it. Lin Guotao did not hide his admiration in his words. As for the other reason, of course it's because of the possibility of you breaking the limit for the second time, and it seems that my choice is not wrong at the moment. Sir, you're too kind. No, it's not too kind, it's my sincere thought. Lin Guotao smiled and said, for the God Mecha project, there has been no suitable candidate in the Yaoqi for more than 10 years. I was desperate and thought that there would be no good candidates on the Yaoqi route. Li Yu only knew these 2 days that a starship has a fixed cruising route, and the human planets it travels through along the way are limited. For example, on the Yaoqi cruising route, there are Mars, Jupiter's satellite, Saturn, Night Watch, Killin, etc. Among them, the candidates for Mecha Masters added by Yaochi in recent years are mainly the first three. Zhi Star and Killin Star are the main routes for the second half. At this time, Lin Guotao operated on his personal communicator and said, "This is the visualization method that researchers have deduced based on the mysterious effects of the thought steal column. You can refer to it." Ding Liyi found that his personal communicator had received an email and opened it immediately. It contained a very detailed visualization method, as well as descriptions of various illusions that appeared during the visualization process, resistance methods, stage descriptions, etc., which were very detailed. With this information, the credibility of Lin Guotao's statement was indeed much higher. Of course, this method is not foolproof. Among the more than 30 people currently participating in this plan, more than 10 have not yet accumulated enough mental strength and are stuck in the accumulation stage, unable to advance to the heavenly rank. Some people died early before they had a chance to realize this accumulation. In short, risks and opportunities coexist. You can review this document carefully and confirm whether you have the spare energy to complete it before making a decision. Liyu nodded. Lin Guotao spoke sincerely, which made him have a good impression of Lin Guotao. Then comes your second question, the types and proportions of the sequences of divine radiation, and how to plan them. There is also a research document on this point. We analyzed it from a material called the Godhead Atlas. I will send it to you for reference later. There is a lot of content. I will briefly explain the conclusion, that is, if all sequences and all quotas can be reached, it will be the best result, but due to limited manpower, it is recommended that the divine gene shares of 3 to 5 divine sequences be fully reached. This is the most economical, and it will not waste a lot of time, and it can also have the same level of dominance. For example, Zhang Shangfeng, he has the divine genes of the 3 sequences of Vulcan, Thunder, and Wind God fully reached, and his defense breaking power is extremely strong, so he can fight 1 against 5 in the heavenly rank. When he first enters the heavenly rank, he can be firmly in the top 10 of the Federation. As for you, my suggestion is to combine the 3 sequences of Celestial God, Vulcan God, and Thunder God. There is a high probability that you can develop ultra-long-range defense-breaking skills, or the Celestial God, Gaia God, and Gravity God sequences can also suppress opponents with a grand momentum, or you can use Celestial Gods in all 3 sequences, such as gathering the power of Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, the 3A level mechas. Anyway, the general direction is like this. As long as you can conceive of a suitable divine skill, any combination can be considered, and it is not necessary to be limited to these. The key is that if your main sequence is the Pluto divinity level, then the secondary sequence should not be too much weaker than the main sequence. Liyu nodded and roughly understood the logic of the combination. The key is that each divine gene must be full in order to allow the individual's evolution and combat power to reach the highest peak. Then, if a person's soul is strong enough, can 4, 5, or even more divine radiations be used? Yes, but it takes too much time and the uncertainty is too high. I don't recommend it. I understand. Lin Guotao saw Liyu's eager look and smiled. Don't be impulsive. Before making a decision, it's best to think clearly about what you want in the future, and then make up your mind to do it firmly. Don't worry, sir, I will do what I can. Liyu nodded on the surface, but in fact he had made up his mind that the more the better. There are more than one way to improve his soul strength. Absorbing memory fragments has a more significant effect. Now that he knows the pros and cons, he naturally prefers compound divinity. Very good, I will send you all the relevant information. Remember, this is a confidential plan. Don't let irrelevant people know that you are involved in this plan, otherwise, it will easily attract the latent elements of the cult and kill you in advance. Then I will help you secretly apply for a thought steal pillar. You wait for a few days. In addition, everyone's situation is different. When you refer to the information, you should combine your actual situation to summarize. Lin Guotao patiently broke down the precautions one by one. Canteen. Liyu caught up with the last wave of high-energy alien meat. After receiving 1, he paid for the last 3. With a rapid improvement of mecha skills and physique in the past 2 days, Liyu felt this kind of pure happiness for the first time in a long time. He plans to practice more during this period to seize the golden window period of strength leap after breaking the limit. Liyu, where did you go just now? Liyu looked back and saw Kei Xiaodong, who had just finished eating, holding a clean plate with some oil stains on it. Something happened. Okay, let me remind you, Zhang Zuqiang just came to me and brought Jin Shengyu, who is ranked 49, to threaten me. You should be careful these 2 days and guard against their tricks, threatening you." Li Yu touched his chin and asked, "Speaking of which, in our class, how many people in the top 40 who are related to or closely connected with Zhang Zuqiang are there?" Xiaodong didn't understand what he meant. After thinking for a while, he said, "There are 7 people in total. What sequence are these people mainly in? Which ones have divine mechas above level D? Fuck, why are you asking about these now?" Xiaodong realized that something was wrong. "As for me, I'm going to start from the back and gamble with them on the time of divine radiation. I'll challenge them one by one. What do you think?" As he said that, Li Yu showed a harmless and kind smile on his face. Chapter 46 Invitation. "Li Yu, are you serious?" Xiaodong was excited and nervous. "Of course, are you sure you can beat Zhang Zuqiang?" When asking this question, Xiaodong couldn't help holding his breath. That's a strong man ranked 23. A senior evolver in the special class. Although he is still at the beginner level. But no matter the experience or the depth of learning, he is incomparable to Zhang Qingjian ranked 42. Even if Li Yi is the strongest fighting rookie in history, he is not an evolver yet. How can he be confident to beat Zhang Zuqiang? Xiaodong thought so for a while. But now standing in front of Li Yi, looking at his calm expression, he hesitated again. Maybe it really can work? After all, this guy has always created miracles with fighting skills. I was not sure yesterday, but after watching the survey materials and battle videos you sent, I feel that most of the people ahead of me are just chickens and pottery dogs. Li Yu laughed. He really thought so. Don't look at his physical fitness has only improved slightly. Don't look at him just learning the basics of mecha skills. But all these combined have greatly improved his strength. He originally thought that those who ranked higher had super fast reaction speed, could bear a large load, and could skillfully and continuously use divine skills, plus they were skilled in mecha skills, so he was probably not their opponent. But now, he can basically win against those who ranked 30 and above. As for those ranked 20 and above, he can win after some maneuvering. The top 20 are the opponents he cannot deal with for the time being. In this case, why not take this opportunity to take down the divine radiation rights of these people? This will also pave the way for his goal of full sequence and full divine genes. Country chickens and clay dogs, okay, then I look forward to your performance. Are you going to challenge them tomorrow? At this moment, Xiaodong actually felt that Li Yu was infinitely powerful, and his heart was full of envy. Sure enough, strength is the courage of a mecha master. Without strength, you will be a little hesitant in doing things. Start after the training tomorrow. Li Yu plans to practice more tonight, and focus on capturing the memory fragments related to mecha skills before falling asleep. The more improvement he can make, the better. This way, he can be fully prepared for tomorrow's challenge. Although he is confident that he can defeat his opponent. But if his opponent has heightened strength or has made progress during this period, he does not want to be trapped in a tough battle. Before taking action, he must make himself stronger. As he spoke, he had already quickly stripped the food and high-energy alien meat on the plate, at a speed that was flying. Let's go. After dinner, I will go back to practice more. Well, in this case, I will practice more too. I can't let you win all by yourself. I also want to win over others. Xiaodong hurried to catch up. At the entrance of the closed training hall, Chen Kai-ongzi, who had just walked out of the door, stared at Li Yu who was walking from the front intersection with her beautiful eyes. She didn't even look at Xiaodong beside him, and said in surprise, "Oh, not bad, come back for more practice." "Yes, have you settled the instructor's matter?" "Almost. Some old stubborn people are like that, they can only lie on the credit book and give blind orders. And put obstacles in the way of those of us who really do things." Chen Kai-ongzi, this iron-blooded woman, rarely complained, which made Xiaodong's eyes widen. Li Yu also found it strange and said in surprise, "I didn't expect the instructor to worry about these things, there is no way. The system of the Deep Space Fleet has been operating for hundreds of years. Some rules came into being, but they don't conform to our current trend, which has somewhat restricted our development." Chen Kai-ongzi added a sentence, and then changed the tone. "Well, you have heard about this matter, so don't worry too much. Your top priority is still to focus on your own training and practice." "I know, instructor," Li Yu and Xiaodong responded in unison. Chen Kai-ongzi nodded and prepared to leave. Li Yu thought about it and stopped her. "Instructor, this is a rare opportunity. How about we practice a few more times? Chen Kai-ongzi smiled and glanced at Li Yi. You haven't started the Pluto Mecha yet. Do you want me to wait for you for more than half an hour? Li Yi immediately said, how about a barehanded match? I am going to challenge several top-ranked students tomorrow. I want to borrow your hand to polish the new skills I have recently studied and increase my chances of winning tomorrow. Lend me a hand to polish your skills. Li Yi's words were too straightforward. Chen Kai-ongzi didn't know what made her laugh, and she couldn't help laughing. Okay, you are direct enough. I like it. Come on, let me see how good you are at bare-handed combat as the strongest rookie king in history. She laughed heartily, her chest rising and falling, and she was indeed very charming. Xiaodong was envious again, thinking, Li Yi is handsome, strong, and performs well. No wonder the instructor thinks I am no different from the air next to him. In the training ground. Instructor, let me make it clear first. I will go all out. Please don't hold back. Let me see how big the gap is between me and the evolvers. Are you sure you want me, a senior mid-level evolver, to go all out to measure the gap between you and the evolvers? Li Yi was speechless. Okay, I'll go all out. You can do whatever you want. Chen Kai-ongzi shook her shoulders, grabbed the windbreaker outside with her right hand, and threw it to one side. Then, her tall, fit, neat, and powerful figure was revealed. Just standing there, she had a domineering aura. You can start, okay. As soon as the voice fell, Li Yi arched his body forward, pushed the ground with his feet, and pushed out a huge force in an instant. Then, he rushed forward. A light air wave was set off on the spot. A figure rushed over quickly. Bang! Chen Kai-ongzi stretched out her palm and easily blocked Li Yi's powerful punch. Not bad, you used the skill of stacking and shocking to accumulate momentum? The mecha skill was easily transformed into a fighting skill, and it was performed with a feat, which is really good, she commented, but her hands moved quickly. Her 5 fingers suddenly opened, grabbed Li Yi's fist, pulled and swung, and whipped Li Yi to the ground like a whip. The speed of this shove was so fast that Li Yi seemed to have no room to react. The sudden transition between offense and defense made Xiaodong say wow again and again. Just when Li Yi was about to hit the ground head first, Li Yi suddenly hooked Chen Kai-ongzi's arm with his foot, tightly wrapped around her. And his body stuck to Chen Kai-ongzi like a dogskin plaster, and Chen Kai-ongzi couldn't get rid of it no matter how hard he tried. Wow, the sticky skill actually uses the legs and feet. Chen Kai-ongzi was slightly surprised. Li Yi's fighting talent could actually pull a huge gap to such a situation? She subconsciously increased her power output, and finally threw Li Yi out. Li Yi had expected to be thrown out this time, and he turned sideways in midair and landed steadily. Is this the new skill you studied? It's really good, Chen Kai-ongzi sighed. Just based on this, your practical ranking in the class can rise by 10 places. It's not enough, instructor, Li Yi said. Not enough? Do you mean your practical ranking can be higher? No, I mean instructor, the speed and power you just used are only 30% more than mine, and the pressure you put on me is far from enough. Hearing this, Xiaodong couldn't help but secretly give Li Yi a thumbs up. Awesome. Chen Kai-ongzi was also stunned for a moment, and then laughed. Then it's as you wish. Next, don't blink. Chapter 47 Techniques. Don't blink. When the last word fell, Chen Kai-ongzi's body disappeared at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Immediately afterwards, a white line suddenly jumped out. In the blink of an eye, it passed by Li Yi, blowing his hair, and stood firmly behind him. How is it? This speed and power is almost the limit of the first level evolver. Can you see it clearly? Chen Kai-ongzi crossed his arms and was calm. Xiaodong, who was watching, swallowed his saliva. He couldn't see clearly, at all. Li Yi paused and said, as expected of an instructor, I only know that the instructor used only the ankle to start the action, and the rest of the body was not involved at all, and when he passed by me, his fingers swept in front of my eyes, and then he used 2 steps to push the ground to complete the emergency stop. Chen Kai-ongzi's smile paused for a moment. Not bad, you actually saw 70% of my actions, and only missed 30%. Li Yi shook his head. It's not that you saw it, but based on the instructor's subtle body movements at the moment of starting and stopping, you instantly built a corresponding action model in your mind. Interesting. Is this the fundamental reason why you are always at ease and can easily predict the opponent's movements every time you fight? Yes, however, your predictive ability will be at a loss when the speed exceeds your reaction ability, right? For example, Although you saw my movements just now, you couldn't react because your speed is not that fast. Yes, instructor, after all, I'm not an evolver yet, Liu nodded. Breaking the limit and evolving are two different things. Not yet an evolver. Chen Kaiyongzi felt a little bit faked and had a slight toothache. But she quickly changed the subject. Since you couldn't react to the speed of the initial level of evolvers just now, I will adjust the difficulty a little bit for you, and compete with you at a speed and strength greater than 60% of yours, to help you hone your skills. Okay, thank you very much for the instructor's guidance. Standard time 10 o'clock. In the training hall, Kezai yawned and couldn't help shouting, Li, do you still need to practice more? Why are you still so energetic? Because I ate 3 more pieces of high-energy alien meat. The Pluto Mecha stood on one side, towering like a mountain. Kezai voice was transmitted over, just like a mosquito's buzz. However, the cockpit has a high level of information collection. No matter how small the sound signal is, it will be received and transmitted to the driver's head. Although there will be a layer of screening and filtering. But its huge amount still brings great pressure to the driver. The essence of Li Yi's so-called extra training is to adapt to this long-term load, and skillfully obtain information that is beneficial to himself from these high-density information. This kind of adaptation will subtly improve the driver's physical quality and mental toughness as the time spent in the divine mecha increases. However, this speed is very slow. Only by stimulating divinity can the physical fitness be improved faster. By the way, after stimulating divinity, the mental strength can also be improved, but the effect is not as outstanding as the physical fitness improvement. Therefore, people with compound divinity sequences are stuck below the heavenly position. Because the speed of mental strength improvement is much slower than the speed of physical fitness improvement. You go back first, as usual. I won't go back tonight, as he said. Liu began to stimulate divinity. Now, he has become proficient in stimulating the free sending and receiving of divinity, and the current single duration is about 5 seconds. In the air, a bone-chilling chill suddenly hit Kezai. Obviously, the weather is not cold, and it is still warm when touching the skin, but the heart feels this indescribable coldness. Unable to help but shudder, Kezai walked away with his head down. No, I can't compare to you, a cow. After practicing with the instructor for an hour, you still have the energy to keep the Pluto Mecha moving for more than 2 hours. What a beast. In the bright cockpit, the Pluto divinity was faintly rising and shining into Li Yi's body. A layer of dark and obscure light slowly flowed on his skin. After 5 seconds, the Pluto divinity disappeared. Li Yi's body shook and he exhaled a breath of turbid air. At this moment, his body was like a large massage, extremely comfortable. It's a good harvest today. Now he can maintain his divinity for 5 seconds after stimulating it, and he can stimulate it again after 5 minutes. This is a new trick he discovered. Before, the cooling time after 5 seconds was at least 20 to 30 minutes. Now, he only needs to squeeze the redundant memory fragments in his mind once to let his soul fly up, so that he can get close to the ubiquitous divinity inside the Pluto Mecha and stimulate it. Now, after several hours, the radiation that the body can accept has exceeded its upper limit, so it has to stop stimulating. The shortcomings of divine stimulation have been barely solved. The only shortcomings are divine skills and slow startup speed. Divine skills are probably not going to be solved in the short term. Next, I have to work harder to capture and control memory and shorten the startup time. Finally, at 12 o'clock standard time, Liu completed the extra training goal set for today and fell asleep. Next, he had to work in his dreams again. Real 007. The next day, in the closed training hall, Chen Kaiyongzi glanced at everyone and nodded slowly. It seems that everyone had a good rest last night, and the overall spirit is a little stronger than before. Since the effect is outstanding, the difficulty of today will be increased by 10% to approach your limit. I believe that many people still have spare energy and have rich potential like mine. Feng Tao led the team to warm up. Gravity training will begin in 10 minutes. Chen Kaiyongzi was still the same, constantly increasing the intensity for everyone. After finishing the third round of gravity shuttle run, Liu went to the nutrition cabin to rest in the middle and unexpectedly met Zhang Zuqiang. What a coincidence, the 3 days are up. What do you think about what I talked to you about before? Seeing Li Yi, Zhang Zuqiang stretched out his hand to stop him and spoke with a smile. The innocent expression on his face seemed as if the previous conflicts were all fake. What a coincidence, Zhang Zuqiang, I want to find you too. Li Yi smiled and said, I plan to challenge people from the top 42 after the training camp ends today, and challenge you across levels. In addition, I can bet with you 1 minute of divine radiation time. I bet 1 minute and you bet 2 minutes. How about it? Do you dare? Zhang Zuqiang was stunned. Are you arrogant because you beat Zhang Qingjian? This kid now sees the difference in rankings, and he really wants to fight him? Why, didn't you say before that I have a chance of winning against you? Do you think I am arrogant? Zhang Zuqiang was reminded by Li Yi's words that he did say something similar when he first met Li Yi in order to trick Li Yi into betting with him. No, that's fine. You're always welcome to challenge me, then let's make a contract. In addition to challenging you, I also need to challenge Zhang Wenqiang, Zhang Wuqiang, Zhang Xiao, Jin Tuangao, Jin Xiaoyu, Gu Xianai, and Chen Liji. They are all Zhang's descendants or relatives. As their big brother, you can also ask them to accept the bet. What the hell? Zhang Zuqiang was completely shocked by Li Yi. So confident? What was he trying to do? Or was he just too arrogant? Chapter 48 Battle. Kid, what do you mean? It's just what I said. I'm not lying. Zhang Zuqiang looked at Li Yi's calm expression and became more and more suspicious. Does this kid have some confidence in winning? Or does he have other tricks waiting? Or is he just bluffing? No matter what conspiracy he has, he can just crush him with his grand momentum, right? After pondering for a long time, Zhang Zuqiang determined that Li Yi was trying to bluff him, so he sneered. Okay, since you are so eager, I will accept the bet on behalf of my brothers. Li Yi nodded. Then let's sign a betting contract according to federal law. The time is limited to 30 minutes after the end of today's training camp. You are the guarantor for the other people, is that okay? No problem, but I need to add additional extended clauses. For example, there are 8 of us betting against you alone. Your cost is too low, so it's not cost effective for us. Then what do you want? I need you to increase the stakes. Tell me about it. First, you must challenge everyone you mentioned just now. Even if you lose and your ranking doesn't rise, you must challenge the next one. Second, the exchange rate of divine radiation time, D-free, 1 to 2, same level for same level, 1 to 1. Everyone's starting bet is 1 minute for D level and 2 minutes for E level. This is the basis. But if your total wins are less than 4, the bet will be doubled, and if your total wins are less than 6, the bet will be tripled. Third, the fulfillment time must last until the corresponding divine gene of the gambler is full. Zhang Zuqiang opened his mouth directly. He also wanted to scare Li Yi and confirm whether Li Yi's previous certainty was real or fake. Li Yi thought about it and nodded slightly. I agree with the rules you proposed. Similarly, you must also respect the same rules. That is, if my total wins are higher than 4 and lower than 6, your bets will be doubled, and if higher than 6, they will be tripled. Do you agree? Zhang Zuqiang agreed readily. Since I proposed it, of course there is no problem. Very good, then it's settled. As they talked, the two immediately used the auxiliary AI built into their personal communicators to set up a gambling contract, signed their names, and uploaded it to the website in the Starship Internet that specializes in handling gambling matters for notarization. After finishing all this, they hurriedly entered a nutrition cabin to rest and wait for the next round of gravity training. Noon. Canteen. Zhang Zuqiang gathered the other 7 people on the gambling contract and explained the situation. The 7 people were immediately in an uproar. Brother Kayang, you are gambling away our divine radiation time without informing us. Isn't that inappropriate? I raised a veto. Can the bet involving me be deemed invalid? Zhang Zuqiang slapped the table in dissatisfaction after hearing so many comments. He said coldly, why, my words are useless now? Besides, he is a person who ranks 10 places lower than you. Are you still afraid of him? If you win, you can earn an extra minute, or even 2 or 3 minutes of divine radiation time from him every day in the future. Ha. Brother Zuqiang has an order, and I, Chen Liji, will do everything I can. It's just a person who ranks 10 places lower than you. That's easy to say, that makes sense. How can Brother Kayang's arrangement make us suffer? Zhang Zuqiang's face looked a little better. So Brother Kayang, who is the opponent? Li Yi, who ranks 42nd. Brother Kayang, this Li Yi has a bright future. Why should we bet against him? Someone asked in confusion. Brother Su Kayang, can I quit? I am only ranked 37th, not much behind Li Yi. The probability of losing this fight is very high, someone said weakly. This person's name was Gu Xianai, and he ranked 5th in the martial arts competition 2 years ago. No. The bet has been made. If you back out now, you'll be slapping me in the face. Understand? Okay, I was just joking, don't do it next time. At this time, Zhang Zuqiang's cousin Zhang Wuqiang sneered, those who just sang the opposite tune are brainless. So what if he is the strongest fighting rookie in history? The mecha matching degree is so low, and the startup speed is so slow. Even if his combat power is outstanding, once his endurance is insufficient on the battlefield in the future, he will inevitably be cannon fodder. Since he is blocking brother Zuqiang's way and is just a bleak future, then we should make a decisive decision and make a good profit of Pluto's divinity from him. This can also be regarded as the value of the fleet's training of him, isn't it? Yes, Wuqiang is right, the special selection class encourages internal fair competition. Now that he has taken the initiative to come to us for a bet, no one will say anything even if he loses. That's right, an eliminated genius is not a real genius. Indeed, the other party took the initiative to challenge us, which is also a slap in the face of our Zhang family. Naturally, he can't let him off easily. Although some people did not agree with Zhang Wuqiang's point of view, they all agreed in this situation. A day of training passed quickly. Chen Kai-ongzi was invited by Li Yi to be a witness, and now she was standing on one side of the fighting field. Are both sides ready? Yes, Gu Xian'ai and Li Yi answered each other. After the training camp, Li Yi still kept the Pluto mecha in the open state, and now he stood on the side of the fighting field, waiting quietly. Opposite him was the divine mecha of the evolver Gu Xian'ai. Vulcan sequence, D-level Changrong mecha. It is 39 meters high, with a snake head and a tiger body. The outer armor layer is with yellow, and the arms, thighs, and chest are all colorful cloud patterns. The overall biotexture is much higher than the steel texture. From a distance, it seems like a huge upright monster. Only the snake head on the head has a giant metal hard armor with a cold light, which makes people suddenly realize that this is a giant mecha. Then you can start. The Pluto mecha stepped on the ground and rushed forward. Inside the Changrong mecha, Gu Xian'ai sighed secretly and thought, now that things have come to this, it's useless to get off the pirate ship. Let's use Thunderbolt means to deal with Li Yi and let him see the divine skills I have been thinking about for a long time. Haha, I have been holding back this move for 2 years, and I have never shown my style in front of everyone. Li Yi, you are lucky. He manipulated the Changrong mecha to fight fist to fist, ready to fight against a Pluto mecha head-on. After getting the effective distance, he used his best divine skills, Fire Tiger Roar. Boom. The two fists hit each other, the air waves rolled violently, and the sound waves crossed the fighting field. The next moment, the super strong and intense loads rushed along the sensory information channel of the arm, and Gu Xian'ai felt a severe pain in his arm. Fuck, isn't this an enhanced version of the Guanzi skill? Can hitting the arm without hitting the cockpit have such an effect? Gu Xian'ai's forehead was full of question marks. The next moment, before he could react, he saw a huge fist coming towards him from the front of Changrong's mecha's panoramic view, getting bigger and bigger. Bang! The violent shock passed through the protection of Changrong's mecha's hard head, and the remaining small part of the force was transmitted to Gu Xian'ai in the cockpit. Then, Changrong's mecha shook, lost balance and fell to the ground. In the fighting field, a loud noise rose to the sky. Everyone off the field was silent. With only 2 hits, he used mecha skills to directly knock down Gu Xian'ai, who was ranked 37. It obviously took so many layouts to beat Zhang Qingjian the day before yesterday. How come he could do it with just 1 move now? Chen Kai-ongzi coughed lightly. Li Yi wins this bet. Li Yi's voice was also heard from the Pluto mecha. Who's next? Let's finish it as soon as possible, so as not to delay everyone's mealtime. Zhang Zuqiang's face looked ugly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Countermeasures. Who will go up next? The people around Zhang Zuqiang looked at each other. Chen Kai-ongzi smiled and said, just go up in the order of ranking. I don't have that much time to bother with you. Zhang Zuqiang's face quickly returned to normal, and he nodded and said, Jin Xiaoyu, you are ranked 35, it's your turn. Remember, Li Yi just used the Guan character skill to penetrate Lao Gu's entire arm. The key point is that the injured area is large, which makes Lao Gu's arm load reach the maximum in a short period of time, and his attention cannot be concentrated, so, you should try to move around and avoid direct contact with a Pluto Mecha. If it is unavoidable, those fists that are obviously not accelerated can be taken hard. You just need to use the divine skills and keep kiting him, and you will have a chance to win. After Zhang Zuqiang's analysis, Jin Shaoai was convinced and nodded and said, "You are worthy of being Brother Zuqiang. I will definitely win if I follow your method." Then, Jin Shaoai trotted into the insertion cabin prepared and advanced next door. Jin Shaoai was starting the divine Mecha. Xiaodong stood on the west side, filming the entire battle. Beside him, there were several spherical filming robots, filming the challenge from different camera positions. Although Chen Kaiyongzi was the notary. After all, this was not a training match within the special class, and it was impossible to start the public equipment to record and film the gambling process. In order to prevent Zhang Zuqiang and others from losing and making a fool of themselves, Xiaodong volunteered to follow and film, and bought a filming robot with his own money. After watching the first game, Xiaodong was so excited that he had a very strong urge to share. For example, live broadcast to the class group. But on second thought, what if I lose? Wouldn't it be embarrassing in front of the whole class? When he was struggling, Li Yu called him. "How is it? Is the shooting robot easy to use?" "Not bad. Micron level lossless image, can shoot 200,000 frames per second, and 30,000 to 40,000 star coins per unit. It's worth the money." "Then how about this? You help me broadcast it live to the class group." "Really want to broadcast it live? Are you confident that you can win?" "Of course. For people like Zhang Zuqiang, it's not enough to just win. Most of them will keep it secret. Then I will just broadcast the game live, let them admit defeat with a clear conscience, and they won't have the face to bother us again." "Will this be too ostentatious and too showy?" Xiaodong was a little worried. "If I were afraid, I wouldn't have done it so big. I just want to do it in a big way, once and for all. It's best to make Zhang Zuqiang die. That way he won't have the face to bully others in the future." "Right." Xiaodong gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, let's do it this time. Zhang Zuqiang is so arrogant because he relies on others' power. If I don't give him a hard fight, I guess he won't be afraid." Li Yu came from a poor family and was born with a fierce character. He is not afraid of anything at all. At that moment, Xiaodong forwarded the live broadcast link in the general group of the Special Class 123 in the Special Classes address book. The title is, "The Strongest Fighting Rookie King Challenges Zhang Zuqiang." The subtitle is, "A Non-Evolved Person vs 8 Evolved People." The gimmick was full at once. And the people from the Special Class 1 and 2 also came over. Who is the strongest newcomer in fighting? Li Yu from Class 3, has it started yet? I want to see a river of blood, kill, kill, kill. A few random barrages of nonsense flashed by. At this moment, Jin Shaoai also started up quickly, driving the Wind God sequence, the Eclipse Divine Mecha, the Hurricane Mecha, to the opposite side of the Pluto Mecha. The Hurricane Mecha is 35 meters tall, with blue and white colors intertwined throughout its body. Its arms are unusually thick, like two angular pillars inserted on its shoulders, with a full steel texture. Chen Kaiyongzi nodded slightly. "It looks like everything is ready. Let's not waste time, let's get started." As soon as the voice fell, the Pluto Mecha rushed forward as fast as ever. The Hurricane Mecha stood in place, with its upper and lower jaws wide open, and a highly condensed hurricane sprayed out directly. This hurricane was like a huge spiral white whip, with huge suction, whipping towards the Pluto Mecha. The Pluto Mecha dodged sideways, and the spiral hurricane immediately turned and followed closely. By the way, it blocked the Pluto Mech's forward steps, forcing the Pluto Mech to take several steps back to prevent being hit. The Hurricane Mech still had this hurricane tornado in its mouth, and it kept shaking its head and tail like a whip, swinging it towards the Pluto Mech. Moreover, this hurricane tornado was getting longer and longer. Like a greedy snake, it stretched from hundreds of meters to 300 or 400 meters. It almost filled the entire fighting field. However, the Pluto Mech quickly figured out the movement pattern of the hurricane tornado. After 3 consecutive dodges, it passed through the corner of the hurricane tornado and quickly approached the Hurricane Mech. Jin Shaoai, when the Hurricane Mech was immediately startled, and without thinking, he quickly retreated. In this way, after a dozen chases and evasions, a series of question marks flashed in the barrage. Why is this Hurricane Mech, which is obviously driven by an evolver, so afraid of direct contact with a Pluto mech. The Hurricane mech used the Hurricane Tornado divine skill very well, but why can't it control the Pluto mech? It is probably because the Pluto mech has some close-range killer trick, and the Hurricane mech dares not get close. There are quite a few people with good eyesight among the online audience. He immediately saw the fear of the Hurricane mech. Off the court, Zhang Zuqiang was so angry that he shouted repeatedly, "Jin Xiaoyu, you should be bolder when you attack. I told you to fly a kite, not to attack so cowardly. When you are at a distance, attack boldly. You use the divine skill like this, your father will scold you to death." As soon as the voice fell, the Pluto mech once again crossed the Hurricane Tornado's defense line, approached the Hurricane mech, and finished it off with a straight punch. The Hurricane mech then popped out of the insertion cabin and landed with a bang. On the live broadcast page, some comments immediately flashed by. Boring, isn't it just bullying the weak? Hurricane Mecha is rubbish. Hurricane Mecha is at least ranked 35th in our class 3. It's not that he is weak, it's that Pluto Mecha is strong. I admire your class 3's ranking before last year, but this year all the masters have graduated and taken up positions, and you are no longer good enough. Okay. Class 2, you guys are really something. Haven't you heard that a lean camel is bigger than a horse? Chen Kaiongzi nodded slightly, thinking, Li Yu's prediction is indeed invincible when the strength difference is not much. I don't know how he can make his prediction accuracy so high. Thinking of this, Chen Kaiongzi asked, Li Yi, you have played 2 games in a row, do you need a rest? No need, the one just now was not even a warm-up. Warm-up? I didn't expect that Li Yi is so humble on the surface, but so arrogant in fact. Zhang Wuqiang looked unhappy. Zhang Zuqiang ignored him and turned his gaze to everyone, and said in a deep voice, Jin Tuogayu, you are next. Remember, don't let Li Yi lead you into his rhythm. This time, I want you to attack directly. Your divine skills have a high defense breaking power. There is no need to slowly struggle with Li Yi. Just trade injuries with him. Our advantage is obvious. We can turn him around and continuously break the defense of the Pluto Mecha, causing his combat power to continue to decline. Even if you lose, our wins later will make up for your losses. Can you do it? Jin Tuogayu took a deep breath. Since Brother Zuqiang said so, I naturally have no objection. Zhang Zuqiang patted Jin Tuogayu on the shoulder and comforted him. Don't worry, I know you are more reliable than your brother Xiaoyu. The reputation of our Zhang and Jin families depends on you to maintain. Soon, the Wind God Sequence D-level Divine Mecha, the Wuhan Mecha, appeared on the scene. Chapter 50 Break. The Wuhan Mecha is 40 meters high, with a gradient black color and an extremely smooth outer armor. The white lights on the dome reflect on it, giving it an extraordinary nobleness. Moreover, its torso and limbs are slender and quite beautiful. It is the most beautiful divine mecha among all the divine mechas Li Yi has seen so far. As for the first one, of course it is his Pluto Mecha. It is both beautiful and domineering, and has both flexibility and strength. At this time, seeing Jin Tuogayu successfully start the Wuhan Mecha, Li Yi showed a solemn look for the first time. Although Jin Tuogayu is currently ranked only 31st. But after Li Yi read the past information and battle videos of these people, he was sure that this person's threat was greater than Zhang Xiao and Chen Liji, who ranked before him. This person ranked 31st, mainly due to the degree of evolution, which is only slightly better than Zhang Qingjin. On the other hand, in his past battles, whether it was consciousness, skills or divine skills, he often had some exquisite performances. Facing this person, Li Yi needed to make some arrangements. Following Chen Kaiongzi's order, the 2 huge mechas began to accelerate and charge. When the Wuhan Mecha rushed, his arms suddenly grabbed the hump on his back in an extremely strange posture. As his palms grabbed, black beams penetrated his fingers and burst out. This starting move, his divine skills are coming, Li Yi's thoughts flashed, and he drove the Pluto Mecha to stop suddenly before colliding with the Wuhan Mecha, and then turned 270 degrees on the spot, while the arch of the foot shook on the spot, pushing out a huge force. The huge load was transmitted to the knee area, and the severe pain was like a knife cutting and burning. Li Yi frowned without frowning. Bang! The air wave spread wildly like an explosion. At the moment when the Pluto Mecha jumped up under the huge force of the arch of the foot, a fierce black light just slashed through the air, and the air tore out an extremely harsh scream. The people off the field, the weaker ones, immediately had a tinnitus and dizziness. At this time, the changes on the field were not over yet. At the same time as the Pluto Mecha leaped, its body flew out under the inertia of the rotation, and kicked the Wuhan Mecha on the shoulder. Clang. There was a loud sound like the collision of metal and iron. The Wuhan Mecha withstood the attack and waved its arms at the same time. Two semi-arc-shaped black lights pretended to chop at the Pluto Mecha. The Pluto Mecha failed to attack and retreated quickly, avoiding the two arc-shaped black lights of the Wuhan Mecha. This is the divine skill mastered by Jin Tuogayu, the Yin Gui Windblade. In the battle video that Li Yi had seen, Jin Tuogayu used this divine skill and almost everything was cut. There was even a record of cutting off the outer armor of the level divine Mecha, which was quite amazing. The reason why the ranking is only 31 is purely because of the physical condition. After landing, the Pluto Mecha did not rush to attack, and began to wander around the opponent. The Wuhan Mecha waved its arms like lightning and chased after it. In this battle, the offensive and defensive positions changed, and Li Yi was at a disadvantage. Zhang Wuqiang smiled and said, "It seems that Li Yi can only be arrogant to Tong Yu. All the previous battles of Li Yi were crushing. But now he can only fumble when facing Tong Yu's divine skills." The middle players who had not yet entered the arena all felt relieved. Fortunately, it was over. But just as they were just relaxing, something strange happened in the fighting field. During the chase, the Pluto Mecha used the skill of stacking shock to make an incredible emergency stop, avoiding the slash of the wind blade on the left. Then, the spin skill was superimposed on the penetration skill, completing the accumulation of momentum, and the double burst suddenly hit the right arm of the Wuhan Mecha that was slashing horizontally. Bang! With a loud noise, a huge gap appeared at the part where the right arm of the Wuhan Mecha connected to the shoulder, revealing the dense and deep red connecting tissue under the hard outer armor and the cortex. The gap was huge. Only a small part of the bone layer and the cortex and nerve connection layer on the back of the Wuhan Mecha's arm and shoulder were left. It was really shocking. Immediately afterwards, the Pluto Mecha took advantage of the victory and hit the unbalanced Wuhan Mecha's head with a double shock. Boom! The Wuhan Mecha shook its body and fell forward. The insertion cabin that Jin Tuogai was riding was also forced to eject and fell to the ground at the same time. Zhang Zuqiang's mouth twitched violently. On the live broadcast page, a large number of barrages were instantly refreshed. Both are D-level mechas. Not only did they achieve a defense break, but they also used their fists to break the effect. UG would like to call Li Yi the strongest fighter on the Yaoqi. It seems that Class 3 should not be underestimated this year. Brothers, stop watching and hurry up to practice with me. At this time, Kazai received a reminder from the communicator and found that his live broadcast account had an additional 200,000 star coins. Damn, thanks to this lady with the ID Yaoqi richest for the tip. Thank you very much. Zhang Zuqiang looked at Chen Kai-ongzi. Instructor, Li Yi deliberately destroyed the divine Mecha, causing immeasurable damage to Jin Tuogai's subsequent use. How do you explain this? Chen Kai-ongzi frowned slightly, then smoothed her brows and said, real machine combat is encouraged on the ship. A little damage is not a big problem. Anyway, the core is not damaged. It will be automatically repaired in 10 days or half a month. Let Jin Tuogayu focus on other subjects these days, and stop the real machine combat for the time being. Zhang Zuqiang saw that Chen Kai-ongzi had made up his mind to favor Li Yi, and his eyes were almost swollen to his temples. He had a dark face and said no more. The others rushed forward to check on the condition of Jin Tuogayu, who was inserted into the cabin. Chen Kai-ongzi looked at the Pluto Mecha and asked, how is it? Do you need a break? No, let's move on to the next one. I'm still not satisfied with the last game. Li Yi actually didn't expect that his spin skill and the penetration skill would produce such a great breaking effect. He guessed that it was because Jin Tuogai rushed over at a rapid speed, which added an acceleration. Coupled with his habitual style of hitting the joints, this is why he had such an amazing performance. It seems that I have to be careful when using the mecha skills next time, so as not to accidentally kill the people in the cockpit through the air, which would not be good. The next game is Chen Liji. As a result, this guy suddenly argued that he didn't know about the bet beforehand, and asked to veto the content of the bet and not participate in this bet. Considering the controversial points, Zhang Zuqiang finally gritted his teeth and approved Chen Liji's withdrawal. Li Yi didn't care, because Chen Liji's divine mecha was also an L-level wind god sequence, and he didn't need it for the time being. So, Zhang Xiao, who ranked 28th, was replaced in the next game. This brother is even more miserable. After only 7 collisions under Li Yi's command, He was directly knocked out of the cockpit and fell into a state of fainting. Facing a series of different divine skills and opponents, Liu felt that the application of mecha skills and fighting skills became more and more handy, and he gained a lot. He was looking forward to the next game. Zhang Zuqiang, quickly arrange for someone to come up. It will be done within 10 minutes. We can also grab the last alien meat. As soon as these words came out, a series of ha-ha-ha flashed on the barrage. The atmosphere of happiness filled the whole place. The last opponent is that bastard Zhang Zuqiang? Good, very good. Support Liu to defeat Zhang Qianqi in a 1-on-8 fight. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.